have the power. The power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
Now, there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians.
Governments don't live together, people live together. Governments, you don't always get a fair word or a fair fight. Well, I've come here to give you either one, or get either one from you.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up,
T-minus 1 minute.
live out the true meaning of its creed.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
T-minus 50 seconds.
I am paying for this microphone, Mr. Every dollar released from taxation
T-minus 40 seconds.
that is spent or invested will help create a new job.
Chivalry is dead, and women killed it.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines.
T-minus 20 seconds.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing ground and in the streets.
10, 9,
We shall fight
8,
in the hills.
6,
We shall never surrender!
3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, welcome to Problem Solver Politics Livestream.
Hey, everyone. Sorry.
Are we live?
Howdy. Of course we're live, man.
Rock on. It's the best part of the week right here.
Yeah. Hold up. Before we move on,
Yeah.
shout-outs to Daniel Tice with the $4 Super Chat. When you know the live going to be great before it starts. Thank you, man.
Yes.
Very much appreciate it.
That is a positive attitude. That is a positive attitude. Anyway, so Cody, whoo! What a week, bro.
Yeah, hey, we got a day left, right? Not even there yet.
Oh, yeah, that's true, man.
So we're getting there. Almost what a week. In 24 hours. What a week, man.
Well, it was interesting. When we started this live stream, one of the things that we were worried about was about doing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays was thinking, well, I mean, should we make it Tuesday, Friday, Tuesday, Saturday? Should we give ourselves more time in between the live stream so, you know, news can build up and things can happen? And holy smoke, we can't get from the beginning of a live stream to the end of a live stream without something happening that has to change the course of our live stream. And we also can't, you know, make it 2 days without there being serious things to talk about. There's just not enough hours in the day to make videos to cover all of this stuff. But we got some really, really cool stuff coming up. We got actually some really interesting interviews. We just confirmed with Senor Scott Santins today. We're actually going to be doing an interview about UBI with him. Also, we've known for a while that we got Paget KG coming on. I believe it's on Saturday. and got some super PAC people that we've talked to, some really, really, really intriguing Andrew Yang lore that we hadn't even heard ourselves yet that will be coming to light.
Oh yeah, campaign lore. Hey, that's what we're gonna ramp up is our campaign lore. We got some more coming up.
So
some I knew, but others we didn't.
Anyway, yeah, you always like asking how people's weeks were, though, just so that we don't jump straight into business. We'll do the pleasure first. How was your week, Cody?
How was my week? Wow, it's a great question. I was pretty good. You know, busy like most weeks, but it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun Tuesday night hanging out with you guys. About it. Dodgers won last night, so it's a good 24 hours.
Just be honest. Why were you so tired? Just be honest.
Oh, I mean, it's without getting too much into it. There is a competitive event going on in the great nation of China. So it's on at about 1 a.m. our time, and I've been watching it for the last few nights without getting too far into it.
What do you mean? You and Andrew Yang share something in common. You should be proud, bro.
I guess you're right. Shout outs to the game of Dota. Andrew Yang shouted it out. And I'll pull it up, actually. Back in like 2018, Andrew Yang said they were going to Twitch stream.
Like that gay kid in junior high that just got, finally caught at the club, and he's outed by his buddies at the football practice or something, like, well, yeah, I was indeed at a club of, maybe like a certain nature, but, it's like a Republican when his friends figure out that he voted for Donald Trump, oh, well, I consider it, and then maybe,
I guess, hold on one second. Here's proof that when I ramble about Dota, I am staying on topic. This is something Andrew Yang has spoken about in the past. I'm not just pulling this out of a hat. Something Andrew Yang has spoken about previously. And you want to talk about some OG Yang Gang stuff? This goes back July 18, 2018, so shout outs to Andrew Yang and Dota. If we ever do get to come across Andrew Yang again, that's what I'm asking him. Or when, not if. When we come across Andrew Yang again, what hero he plays in Dota. Anyone familiar with the game, let us know in chat. What hero does Andrew Yang play in Dota? Anyway, without further ado, my friend Carden over here is getting his charges put in. Really quickly, I want to introduce something. It's in the title. A lot of you people are asking me, it's even real. It is real. According to CNN Politics, the 2020 Democratic field is going to start shrinking faster now. I believe this is probably directly in response to Jay Inslee dropping out. Anyone here who didn't hear the news last night? Jay Inslee did drop out of the race officially. I believe another candidate did as well. I'm not 100% on that one, but Inslee's out. So, and Andrew Yang actually had a pretty nice tweet to him just saying, like, hey, I appreciate what you're talking about, man. I agree with you on a lot of stuff. There we go. Anyway, let's go through the list. So, Carden. Oh, I spoiled it. Crap.
What?
Number 10 in the list. And I already spoiled it in the title. Andrew Yang is not on this list, by the way. So everybody you read on this list, CNN Politics says is closer to winning than Andrew Yang is. So
are you suggesting that CNN didn't include Andrew Yang on one of their insider baseball lists?
Well, no, it's the 2020
CNN's news.
But it's not even insider baseball. It's the 2020
They
field
talk so much crap about Trump. They have to be right. I want them to be right. I'm emotionally predisposed to them being. They're not propaganda.
They're propaganda. Okay. People can be wrong for like 1,000 different reasons.
Why
I think
do
they're
you
wrong.
always? Yeah, but I don't get this. This is what I don't get. Look, one of the things I like about you, Cody, is that you give people the benefit of the doubt. And as a person who gives excessive amounts of benefit of the doubt, I appreciate that you want to say, no, it's not propaganda. It could have just been human error. And I can believe that the first time, maybe the second time, in a large organization, who knows, maybe the third time, given enough distance in between them. But day in and day out, we are in here analyzing the news media's coverage of Andrew Yang, and CNN never has anything positive to say unless it's a live interview where one of their hosts who doesn't have a pre-made script happens to admit that they like him. Like, what would it take to convince you that CNN is literally just a cheerleader for the establishment DNC?
Something along the lines of, hey, we represent CNN and we're a cheerleader for the establishment DNC. Here's a press release. Because, dude, we talked about this. Van Jones clearly likes, and he hasn't run the network, but he's a front face of CNN, is a fan of Andrew Yang. We also have Mr. Anderson Cooper, who had a very pleasant interview with Andrew Yang. Even Don Lemon, that's why I don't necessarily always think. I think a lot of this more is ignorance, and it's kind of just people going like.
Look, I've blocked out the Don Lemon interview from my mind.
It's people who just kind of look at the list and go, this Yang guy, and they just write him off. That's my opinion. It seems to me more like he's just being written off immediately. Just, this Yang guy, whatever. Because we'll go through the list, and as I said, number 10 is Thomas Steyer. takes on why Tom Steyer deserves to be in the top 10 right now. Is this businessman going to win the Democratic nomination? Probably not. But Steyer has shown a willingness to spend millions of dollars on ads. That is true. He has shown a willingness to spend millions of dollars on ads. Ads that helped him get to 3% in Iowa very quickly. This may not seem like a great result, but it's better than the majority of Democrats running. Steyer needs just one more qualifying poll to make the September debates, which most candidates will miss. You know who won't be missing the September debates, card?
Yeah.
Who won't be missing the September debates that isn't on this list?
Joe Biden.
No, Andrew Yang will be at this.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
He'll
No,
be
I'm
at these
sorry.
debates. Tom Steyer, who was previously unranked, who is not yet going to be at the debates ahead of him. So I'm sorry. I just love that line, by the way. That cracks me up, man. Is there any more just like BS phony praise than he has shown a willingness to spend millions of dollars on ads? Like, wow, man. He's spending money. He's got my vote. I don't know. That actually does crack me up.
So you don't think that CNN is purposefully maligning him?
No.
I don't think they're sitting there around the table
I
saying,
think MSNBC
what can we do to get rid of him?
NBC might be, but I think they're just more being arrogant and ignorant. Yang, he's never been city councilman. Hey, get him out of here. I think it's more along the lines of that. Like, this Yang guy, who is he? I've never heard of him before. I think it's closer to that
So
than
you're
like,
saying it's arrogance and ignorance combined. I'm actually okay with that.
yeah, it's just them thinking like, oh, well, Tom
But
Steyer's.
what is also one of the principal components of propaganda? Arrogance and ignorance, ideologically motivated.
But mistakes.
Broadcast through mistakes.
Mistakes are generally
Mistakes are
fueled-
not ideologically motivated.
No, but they're motivated by arrogance and ignorance. That's
here,
generally
hold on.
speaking where mistakes come from. Is being
You know what,
arrogant and ignorant. at the
audience,
same
you
time.
could do this with me. You can do this with me live.
Okay.
I'm going to Merriam-Webster.com
jeez.
right now. And we are going to look up, I'm searching Merriam-Webster.com for the word propaganda. Okay?
Whatever.
According to English, since 1828, Merriam-Webster has been the determining factor in the linguistic beauty of the English tongue. It says the word you'd entered isn't in the dictionary, and I spelled it right. Propaganda. Oh, no. Oops. I spelled it propaganda instead of propaganda. Okay, so anyway. Propaganda, capitalized. A congregation of the Roman Curia having jurisdiction over missionary territories and related institutions. Definitely not CNN. They're not in the missionary position when they decide to screw us. The spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. The spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person.
Yes, intent.
Could they be spreading ideas?
I don't
CNN,
know.
yes.
Can't predict
Information, yes.
Nah.
Or rumor, yes.
Nah.
For the purpose of helping or injuring an
Nah.
institution, such as the Democratic National Convention?
No, dude, that's nonsense. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, let's watch that CNN Kamala Harris puff piece that they did that was called News, when in reality it was just her rehearsing all of her Twitter feed, making her sound like she's just the greatest civil rights hero since, I don't know,
Moving
Rosa
on.
Parks.
Moving on. Julian Castro is number 9. What do you think?
What I think about Julian Castro?
Yeah, number 9.
I've lost all respect for Julian Castro ever since he turned Orange Man bad.
How
It's
much?
foolish.
Wait, hold on. How much did you respect him before that?
I am biased towards Latinos.
Okay.
I totally admit it. It's a byproduct of me having learned Spanish and lived in Argentina for 2 years. I generally just like Latino dudes. And also I think it's having grown up in Southern California. He totally reminds me of all my buddies' dads. You know what I'm saying? So I was actually, I was a little bit biased toward Julian Castro. See, the difference between propaganda, like the stuff you see on CNN, and problem solver politics is we don't fake that there are no biases, okay? We just recognize ours and admit them and analyze how they influence our judge making so we can hopefully compensate and adjust for these biases. I was actually probably a little bit more biased towards Julian Castro because, I grew up with Latino dudes and he seemed like a nice guy until he started just drinking the Kool-Aid and doing the propaganda crap. I'm tired of it.
Okay, well, let's find out why CNN thinks he's better. So, mind you, this description is the description of a candidate who is has a better chance of winning than Andrew Yang in the words of CNN. So here we go. Ready? The good news for Castro is that thanks to this new CNN SSRS national poll, where he took 2%, the former San Antonio mayor is qualified for the third debate, after Andrew Yang did. He's been one of the strongest performers in each of the first 2 debates, and there's no reason to think Castro won't continue that streak in September. The bad news, Castro's past debate showings haven't moved the needle much for him in the contest. To be frank, though, I'll give him this. That statement, you can reply it as Yang's past debate showings haven't moved the needle much, because they really haven't. He's been about the same. So, it's fair. I do not have racial biases toward candidates. I just, to be frank, don't know much about Julian Castro, and I don't know. I can't even comment on the guy. I don't know anything about him.
Okay, right after Semper Mollis was dogging on me for another Argentina reference, I noticed that we got a super chat. So, agree with Cardin on CNN. Thank you, Thomas Person. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for proving that humanity has a hope by agreeing with me. No. Anyway, 2, would flush my last cent to watch Steyer consistently miss polling deadlines. Dude, Tom Steyer, I just really, 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 really hope that somehow our system rejects Tom Steyer, not for any personality trait or physical trait or anything about his being, but just because I have never seen an absolutely more blatant attempt at just straight up buying an election than Tom Steyer. Okay, now we've always had this dark money where there's a PAC that is technically a 527 that's connected to a 501c4, and a 501c4 is protected by the charitable clause of the IRS tax code. So as long as 51% of their activity is not political and goes towards their charitable welfare cause, which could be just voter education, then, you don't have to disclose the donor list. So, previously dark money in politics, at least had to have a facade built. Like the racket that the mafia was running at least had to have a legitimate business in front. We don't mind what you're doing in back, but you at least need to have a legitimate business that's taking up 49% of your income in front. Enter Tom Steyer with the millions, and nope. We'll consider the anti-Trump bumper stickers that you were selling for the past couple of years as individual donations. Hey, P.S., you got more cash? We'll let you onto the debate stage. He is literally spending, what was it? He was spending $14 or $15 in Facebook ads just to get a single dollar donation so he could get enough unique donors.
Probably more. Well, how about this? I almost get up. Before we get into him buying his way in, I want to get to know the super chat because something really fascinating in there. Ready?
Yeah, what?
That's from Peter R. $2. DNC just voted down the climate change debate. We're going to get to that next. I just pulled that up. That's the next the story we're going to.
Joe Biden advisor says to vote down to not pump up the climate change debate. And this is why I keep saying, guys, you need to understand, okay? Republicans got their problems.
They rejected a resolution for having a separate debate on climate change.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that next. Really quickly, I want to get to these last few people.
Sure.
We'll finish reading the full blurbs because I think, honestly, if I were to power rank Andrew Yang, I'd probably have him at 7 where Klobuchar is. So Beto O'Rourke, I'd have him above Beto. Sorry, Mr. Robert, but not buying it. Beto actually moved up one. That's funny. Amy Klobuchar, people seem to like her. She's kind of moderate, but she's... How is somebody that is not even close to making it to the debate stage, so off on polls, barely has donors, ahead of a guy in the power rankings who's at the debates the next month and a half? What?
This is why, Cody. Let's go back to the definition of propaganda. The spreading of ideas, information.
Not a good point.
What?
Want to hear it?
Yeah, I was in the middle of my sentence.
It's a good point, though, before we move on.
Okay, fine. What's a good point?
Merriam-Webster is weak. You should have used Oxford.
Oh, okay. We'll go to Oxford next. But in the meantime, just because I have it pulled up here, the spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or hindering an institution. That institution is the establishment, DNC, candidate or candidates. Okay? That's it. CNN serves no other purpose than to puff piece the people they like and hit piece the people they don't. They masquerade as news, just like 501c4s masquerade as social welfare organizations, when in reality, all they do is politicking. We've got one here, California 25 and up. They say they're a social welfare organization, but all they do is voter reg for Democrats. Why you saying, oh God? I'm giving a good example that people can look up online, okay? It's not like the Sierra Club or the NRA that are also 501c4s that actually have like gun safety training meetings or actually go out and purchase property that has been, you know, not economically, ecologically impacted in order to fix it, and then also lobby on the side. There are just some organizations that are straight up dishonest about their intentions, and they masquerade as such. They are called rackets, and they're run by the mafia. When it's news, it's called propaganda, and it's have you ever seen? Here's a question: have you ever watched the White House press corps dinner? Have you ever seen it?
I've never sat through the whole thing though.
Okay, no, but have you ever seen it? Just have you ever looked into the crowd?
Parts of it, yeah.
And gazed into the crowd for 12 minutes. There's a reason why they call it nerd prom. All right, it's all of the nerds that grew up into media. They all went to their Ivy League schools. And there's probably, I'd say, 25 big producers at each one of those main 5 news organizations. So there's probably 75 to 100 producers that all know each other. If one got fired from CNN, they'd get picked up at MSNBC. If one got fired from NBC, they would be picked up at CBS, okay? None of them have struggled. The vast majority of them come from wealthy ivory tower families, and they've adopted this coffee shop socialism because that was what was cool in the 80s and 90s when they were going to college. All right? And that's who is deciding what's getting played and what's getting included on the limited airtime that Anderson Cooper has. Anderson Cooper doesn't know everything. He relies on a bunch of producers, and the producers are all ideologically motivated. And so if they don't like you, you ain't getting screen time. Sounds a lot like Andrew Yang. Unless you happen to be just so undeniably cool or weird in some way that they have to let you on, which is pretty much why Andrew Yang is getting on the limited broadcast interviews that he is, because he's killing it in some of the online discussions. There's a reason why The Breakfast Club was one of the first big interviews that he got. Not because he didn't apply to CNN, NBC, CNBC, CBS, or any of those, but because he got so popular on some of these online interviews, they finally could not ignore him. So anyway, audience, I'm sorry. I know this is difficult because a lot of liberals have loved the CNN content for a long time because it's left-leaning, and we want to call it news when we agree with it. But those of us on the right of many issues, okay, have seen the absolute crap that they've been shoveling for a decade as just pure propaganda. So it's not just sitting on his lawn chair saying, no, it's true. They shovel crap, and whatever crap the DNC tells them to shovel, they shovel, okay? So I don't want to shut them down, okay? I want them to improve. Doubt they will. But I don't want to regulate their free speech. I just want people to know that when they're hearing that person's free speech, they're just hearing an amplified version of whatever memo got sent out by Tom Perez the day before. Okay? We can move on. Who else is on this power list?
Before we move on,
how is Amy Klobuchar at all a more popular, influential, or taken seriously candidate than Andrew Yang?
There's about 40 citations needed for your last little rant there on the media and the stuff they do. It's like a bunch of I don't know. I would say pump your brakes. Could be. It's a good bit. It is a viable and rational explanation. But who knows, man? You don't know what someone's intention is. It's never good to tell someone what their intention is. And I've done to you. You really meant to say this. No, I didn't. Oh, it's obvious. No one likes that. Don't be that guy. It's obvious. What do you mean you didn't mean to say that?
You know what?
I just gotta push back on that.
Okay, fine.
Even if it feels like, you know what, I swear I'm right in here. Whenever it comes down to the, you really meant this. No, I didn't. Oh, come on. Everyone knows what you really meant. No one likes that guy because it's like, well, hold on, man. You know what I meant? That's funny. I thought I did.
So, well, look, let's go to the audience on this. See if they agree with me or not. I'm getting a lot of mixed reviews. I mean, I'm getting a lot of support here. But what's interesting, look, here's some. Theo Rocha says, Card and I agree. However, Chris Cuomo was my guy. Fine. But just recognize that it's a personality thing. All right? For example, I don't like Sean Hannity's personality that much. I don't dislike him. I don't hate watch him. I don't really like his show. I know when it comes to, like, you know, conservative talk radio, he's one of the biggest shows and stuff, but it doesn't really appeal to me. I feel there's a generation gap between us. Same with Rush Limbaugh. You know what I'm saying? And there's plenty of ways in which I'm sure I would generally agree with Rush Limbaugh's policy proposals. Sometimes it's just that I cringe. It's conservative cringe, and I'm not attracted to that personality. So it's okay if you just like Chris Cuomo because you like his personality. I mean, who knows? Maybe you hung out with New York hockey player jocks, you know, and him, so his personality appeals to you. But, like, just recognize that way. And also I'm getting like, well, what about Fox News? What about Fox News? Yeah, no duh. No duh. Okay? CNN is nothing but a propaganda arm and a super PAC for the DNC. And you want to know what? Fox News panders very much to the RNC, okay? However, there's one reason why I have so much more respect for Fox News, and it's evidenced by how they treat Andrew Yang. The reason why I respect Fox News more, okay, is because Fox News only claims to have 1 hour of news, and the rest is all opinion. And even though I don't like Sean Hannity, when I watch Sean Hannity, he says, well, see, us conservatives, we don't think that way. Here's the conservative opinion. And then he goes on to sound like an old angry man on his porch yelling at the neighborhood kids to get off their lawn. Okay? But at the end of the day, he didn't lie to me. He just said, here's my opinion, and it's the conservative opinion, and here's why I think I'm right. And I don't feel like I'm lied to. Whereas on CNN, I'm told this is news. I'm told that Kamala Harris, despite all of her difficulties as a child, never mind that she had a much easier economic childhood than I did and 99.9% of my friends did, but she's acting like she's in the bottom 10% here, overcoming, you know, the Spanish flu, polio, the bubonic plague, the depression, Jim Crow South, and Joe Biden's racism, all within the span of her K through 12 education. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel lied to when I'm watching puff pieces, not getting told, hi, we're CNN, and we're just kind of like MSNBC light, so we'd like to tell you our generally leftist opinion. I just don't feel like I'm lied to, and I get really frustrated when I feel like I'm getting lied to. So anyway, we got a super chat here. Cody, just bail me out. I've probably pissed off a lot of people by this point.
No, people agree with you, man. They don't like CNN either. But I'm just saying, like, I caution. It's easy to say CNN's doing Yang wrong. Ooh, they make me so mad. But sometimes they're just paying people that are unqualified for the job because they're cheap because they're not doing well.
Alyssa Monet Mason, thank you.
Okay, moving on to super chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Xenon Light, thank you.
Anyone who agrees with Carden, you're his new best friend. Anyway, Michael H., you'd like to hear this too. Ready?
Yes.
Our super chat. I'd like to see some good analysis on what is more effective for name recognition, TV news or massive social media presence. Plus, I agree with Carden. You're even more of his best friend. You guys are all his best friends now.
Michael H., you know what? If we ever see each other, I got $5 of. I don't drink coffee myself, but I will buy you a coffee or a drink. And if you don't drink, we can have some of my Soleil seltzer water that I drink to lose weight. It's horrible. I've botched this invitation already. Michael H., thank you.
Hold on, but to his question though,
some analysis on what's more. I think it's generational, and I actually have an opinion on this, Cody. And I've talked way too much. Cody, you talk, and then I'll spout my opinion.
Okay, so to recap the question is, what is more effective for name recognition, TV news or massive social media presence? I would say the real thing here, it comes down to who you're trying to reach. If you're trying to reach an older audience, television. If you're trying to reach a younger audience, internet. It goes beyond that, but I would say that would be the kind of simple divide. For example, like, I know a lot of people that are older and they don't go on Twitter and read. Some people do. I'm not gonna, no disrespect. People on Twitter in their 70s, 80s, 90s, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying that on average, the older people I know, they watch the news, cable news. So if you want to reach boomers, but not just like more like metaphorical boomers than literal boomers. That would be a good place to reach them. However, if you're looking for kind of millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y, younger type people, internet's the way to go. I would say it's there because once it gets past that, it does actually get a little bit difficult to dial in, like exactly who is the best. How is the best way to reach the most people? Because like I said, man, I think there's a lot of variables in it. I think part of it is if you are trying to reach an older or younger audience. Beyond that, it also gets down to methodology, right? You could Tom Steyer it up and show a willingness to spend millions of dollars on advertisements on Facebook, or you could be like Andrew Yang, who's not spending a lot of money on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere, but he's doing great. So, great. Here, before we get to Cardin's answer, we have a super chat from Stefan. Shout out, or Stefan. I hope I pronounced it right. Shout out, though, dude. I recognize you, man. Thank you. $10 super chat. I forgot who said it in exact words, but it goes like, we can't determine whom the voters are going to vote for, but we can determine who would be on the ballot. Yeah, exactly. I was in policy. Exactly. Yeah, they can. I was afraid of the idea of once the DNC felt confident with their field, just kind of going to people and saying like, hey, don't release these polls that qualify anymore. Let's just keep the field where it is. But anyway, Cardin, back to you. More effective way to reach people, cable news or social media?
Well, I think it really depends. You took the words right out of my mouth when you said age demographic. I mean, if you look at, age and socioeconomic demographic, if you are struggling with baby boomers, you better be buying TV ads, and it better be broadcast television, and you better hope that they still don't own a TiVo. You know what I'm saying?
That's a super boomer. Super boomer.
Yeah, that's
TiVo.
super boomer. But dude, my dad's one of those. Okay, he's so excited that he got to cut the cord and actually go back to having a television antenna that now he watches commercials just because he thinks, oh, I'm getting free TV. All right, so I know during political ad season he is going to be bombarded during Dodger games with nothing but political ads, and those will indeed influence him, but kind of not really, because most boomers have already made up their mind. The question is not whether they'll vote Democrat or Republican, but who within their party they will vote for, especially during the primaries. So if you're trying to influence the boomers, yes, you got to go to the broadcast, mediums. Now, it's interesting. Me and Cody actually have a unique perspective on this and a unique authority on the subject because we actually met at a radio station. We met at FM 98.1 in Los Angeles that is in the North LA metro region, and it's really interesting. Our radio station would get contracts with both the Kings and the Dodgers. A lot of the signals for North LA County are blocked by the mountains, and so they give regional contracts to some of the smaller stations in order to boost the coverage of their, at least the radio coverage of their games. So it's a very popular station with multiple different demographics, and oftentimes while selling advertising for the radio station, we would have to become aware of, what our listenership is, what the age, the socioeconomic input and output, the average number of children, so on and so forth. There's all of these Quantcast stats and what's that other ratings company stats out there that shed a lot of light onto who listens. Now, here's a problem, though. Broadcast media is extremely expensive, okay? But older people listen to it. And the polls that Andrew Yang is trying to qualify for, the scientific polls that say they're scientific and represent a cross-section of the United States of America, don't represent a cross-section of the United States of America. They represent a cross-section of the oldest, most out-of-date part of the United States of America. In fact, we analyzed 1 or 2 videos ago the polling data of some of these qualified polls, and of the 1,004 people that they interviewed or called or asked their phone questions to, in some of these polls, less than 100, less than 50 are actually below the age of 45. Like we're talking, they're not just skipping over Zoomers, Gen Zers, and young millennials. They're straight skipping over millennials altogether, anything below it, and heading straight for the middle Gen Xers. And you can't tell me that somebody raised in the 80s has a different view of life than somebody raised in the 70s. Okay, so don't say that your poll is scientific. Why don't you say it's scientific according to 1990 standards, which haven't really changed a lot? Calling modern landline polls done by NBC and the Wall Street Journal and these other scientific polling companies as scientific is literally like calling a 1995 Honda Civic modern and scientific. I literally drove an 88 Honda Accord as my first car, and it was carbureted. Okay. So that's my analysis. I think it's better in the long run to have a much deeper and wider online presence because millennials are online and millennials are the largest voting bloc. Okay. The boomers, their mind is made up. Many of them will change their minds, but they're not going to change their minds until the debates. So as long as Andrew Yang can make it to the next debate, keep growing as all the others start failing. Sooner or later, he's going to be on a debate stage where they can no longer ignore him or just give him stupid, cute questions like, hey, Asian-looking guy, we've got a question about conflict in the South China Sea. How would you handle it? Okay. And instead of fighting over 2 minutes and 39 seconds, literally scraps of time in these debates, only 4 people, well, all of a sudden, that's when you're going to start seeing real color shine. And that's when you can start seeing breakout performances of Andrew Yang. Like, oh, hold on a second. I would like to disagree with the senator from Vermont that raising the minimum wage is not the most effective way of raising people out of poverty. In fact, it could actually have a detrimental effect. And the stats and the data and the math shows that a UBI, a freedom dividend, will do much more to elevate the average standard of living for poor or marginalized communities than a $15 minimum wage will. And boom shakalaka, here's the PowerPoint presentation that I brought on a thumb drive. You know what I'm saying? That was a joke about the PowerPoint presentation. So anyway, I think a massive social media presence in the long run will serve him better as long as he's doing well enough in the traditional polling to keep qualifying for debates. Because then he'll kind of get the best of both worlds. He'll get the screen time with the boomers, but then hopefully be crushing it with the millennials, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like I said, I think it really depends on what, especially like demographically. Honestly, if you're focusing on Los Angeles, I might even say for the older audience, I'd look towards YouTube. But if we're going to a more rural area where it's just not as tech focused, you might focus more on television even for younger audience. You know what I mean? So
Fred the Felon said, silver hairs going for silver hairs.
Exactly. I saw that.
That's
pretty much,
funny.
yeah.
Did we already talk about the super chat from Stephen Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, yes, you did. I'm sorry.
But I want to get back to a prior super chat that was brought up.
Okay.
Really interesting article. I love reading this stuff, man. Love reading this stuff. So, CBS News. DNC rejects resolution calling for climate change debate. Why would they do that? I would see them do that. Let's find out. So, Democrats and activists hoping to stage a presidential primary debate on climate change were dealt a significant blow on Thursday when a party committee rejected a resolution that would have allowed candidates to participate. Washington State Democratic Chair Polish Tina Pawlowski authored the resolution, which called on the Democratic National Committee to let candidates appear on stage simultaneously in a debate focused on the issue. The proposal presented to the party's resolution committee, the DNC's summer meeting in San Francisco, suspense is killing me, was defeated by a vote of 17-8, so soundly defeated. What you found was a section of individuals who wanted to be able to have a climate debate and talk about all the intersectional issues, whether that's jobs, whether it's healthcare, and whether it's national security, Pawlowski told CBS News. And what they got was a big stop sign from the DNC. Like you always say, the DNC likes to control the narrative and talk about stuff. This sounds just like the DNC literally saying, oh, no, you guys, you don't get to talk about that. Sorry, we don't talk about that.
This is what I really hope people start understanding about the DNC, okay? I'm not here to defend the RNC. They're big boys. They can defend themselves. They have a rich history of many good things. They've had some foul-ups. But this is not a foul-up that I see coming from the right in America currently. And the DNC will use you, absolutely use you like a cheap prostitute until they squeeze every last vote or donation dollar out of you. And then they will leave you by the curb because they do not give a crap about you. They did it already to the African-American vote. They don't care. Oh, they'll call people racist. But how have they even touched, helped, improved, or done anything for the African-American community since the war on poverty started in the early 60s? Nothing. Now they've even left the gay community behind. They soaked up and vacuumed up all of the gay community and all the allies to be Democrats. And now that, that's happened, boom, they're done. They've moved on to the transgender soundbite because that's really cool. And they will keep doing it, keep doing it. I agree with Ethan Smith from ESPN on this so much when he said, how can we complain that we are a marginalized people when we tell one party that, hey, you got our vote in the bag. We won't even pay attention to the other guys. Because that tells the Republicans that, hey, you know what? We're not going to vote for you no matter how hard you try. And Democrats, you don't have to do anything for us because you got us. How can we complain that we're marginalized when that's how we're acting? Whereas if we went out, we all of a sudden, all of us just voted Republican one day, all of a sudden the Republicans would say, holy crap, we can get these people's votes? Well, let's work for this. And the DNC would say, holy smoke, we just lost these people's votes? Maybe we've got to work for them. And then all of a sudden, competition is kicking in on behalf of your group, your demographic, your people, whatever you want to call it, okay? So I just hope that people start realizing the DNC does not give a crap about you. They just give a crap about what will get them power. And for years, the climate change argument got them power, and they didn't care if the far left was speaking pseudoscientifically, was being violent, was ruining people's lives, businesses, families, and mom and pop shops because of crappy environmental legislation. By the way, I have a license from the EPA, guys. I know what I'm talking about. They didn't give a crap about any of that because now guess what? They've soaked every amount of power that they can get. They've reached the threshold of what the environmentalist argument can get them. And so now they're done with it. They don't want to have an actual climate change debacle because A, the older and wiser ones in the DNC like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden know, that we've bred this whole generation of crazy psychos who believe pseudoscience. And if we let the people from the insane asylum in to have a debate, they're just going to shut it down and it's going to become an Antifa rally. So no, screw that. No, whatever. We're better off just calling Trump a science denier. Go do that. They have just used the environmental movement, the good people who care about Mother Earth, just like me, just like you, in order to get votes. But when it comes down to the rubber meeting the road and having a real conversation, you ever notice how all the time they'll say, oh, you guys are science deniers over there, flat earthers. They never want to have a conversation and start the real conversation about climate change. Wow, there's a big chance for a big fat conversation. And who shut it down? Was it the science-denying Republicans? Was it Donald Trump? No, it was the DNC. Why? Because they'd already squeezed all the water out of the rag. So we got to quit handing them rags. Quit handing them rags. This is why people are clamoring for a third party. This is why people don't trust the DNC anymore. I don't want to see the DNC destroyed. I think political parties are wildly important because they compete with each other and they force these politicians to come up with better ideas for the next generation than the last generation had, or else they won't vote for them. Okay? Political parties are the equivalent of economic competition in the political sphere. Okay? I'm not trying to make the DNC go away. I'm trying to make them be better. But there's a reason why now only 27% of the people in America self-identify as Democrat, while 29%, not much better, self-identify as Republican. There's a reason why they've lost such a huge market share of the political debate, because they've allowed the far right eschews, rejects, and generally distances itself. Sorry, the center right distances itself from the far right. When you get these crazy people that want like martial law and stuff like that, they're like, no, that's nuts. When you get some of the people that start just being far right, there's this distance where center right people don't feel comfortable with them. On the left, you do not see that. You do not see a widespread rejection of Antifa. You see a lot of kind of like, oh, you boys, don't fight the good fight too hard. You know what I'm saying? And it is destructive. It is self-defeating in the long run. And I think it's starting to catch up with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the older guard in the Democrat Party. But I don't know. I think it actually will hurt Andrew Yang if he gets farther along, if he can't learn how to distance himself from the crazy part of the left. You know, and the crazy part of the left is very anti-Trump. That's why I consistently say, don't rag on Trump. Talk about your good ideas. People will vote for you for your good ideas. They won't vote for you because you said something anti-Trump. We hear that every day, everywhere, from every candidate. Be different and talk good ideas. Anyway, we've had a couple of super chats. I apologize. That was very long. Jacob Wheel. If you were going to choose Yang's cabinet, who would you choose and for what post on each? I like Tulsi for Secretary of State and Marianne for White House psychologist.
Oh, yeah, it's a new position. Would that be cabinet, though?
No, that actually he said would be a paid position that would not be appointed because I think he wanted to make sure that they were not politically motivated. When he spoke briefly about this, I believe he said that it wouldn't be a cabinet position. But I do have to say, White House psychologist Marianne Williamson, maybe not White House psychologist because I think you have to have a master's degree for that. But how about this? You ready for this one, Cody?
Well, 1 second.
Marriage counseling for all. White House marriage counselor.
That would be. You couldn't let it get out. News can't get out to the first lady and the president are the first man. What would it be? What would it be if the
if it's our weekly meeting with Marianne?
Well, 1 second. I want to get to a point. Ready?
Okay, get to the point.
We have a few more super chats I want to get through, and then I would like to go back and actually take a look at all the cabinet positions. Ready?
Yes.
Cool. So next, Shan Owens. Is Yang supposed to release a revised climate change plan Monday? I read it somewhere on Twitter but didn't confirm. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure if he is or is not. Again, it sounds familiar, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, we know that he's revised a lot of his official policy positions.
Based on the new one, I think.
And he's become a lot more vocal about it, too, because what happened is, for example, in the media ombudsman, we did a video on this when it first came out. And then when some right-wing organizations that did not feel comfortable how close it looked to censorship approached him on it, and the revised version came out, they said, hey, whoa, we printed out 3 weeks ago isn't what you have on your site now. Why are you changing? Why are you this? And it's kind of like those journalists that discover deleted tweets, how they make a bigger scandal out of it than it really is. I think since I'd covered the media ombudsman idea, I thought, look, he saw the flaws in his ideas and got rid of it. Something I actually appreciate. People used to rip on Mitt Romney as being a flip-flopper because he changed his mind. I don't view having a pliable mind as a negative thing. It shows that, you can actually improve your ideas. And it seems like he got some constructive criticism, improved and changed his ideas. So I don't know if it is coming out on Monday, but if it does, you better believe we're going to make another video on that because I'm a huge environmentalist. I hate the term climate change because it politicizes the idea of conservation and good stewardship of our Mother Earth. I believe environmentalism was the best phrase that we ever had for this desire that we all have to need to preserve the environment in its most beautiful form for future generations. So anyway, there's another super chat. Want to hit it?
Yes. Next up, Mr. Connor Boyd. Yang for third party if the DNC screws him. We get to this later, our debate about third parties and whether or not they make sense. And then Fred the Felon. DNC has always used climate change as a Democrat talking point, and Republicans have always denied climate change. Finally, with Andrew Yang, we get a new perspective, which is we're screwed. I agree a little bit. Yeah, that's...
I give Fred the Felon. As a fan, I give this man an A+.
One more thing.
What?
Jacob Weil says, Cody has been right with the name, by the way. It's Weil. So.
Okay.
You're wrong. No, just kidding. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate it.
So, Fred the Felon, A+ fan, B+ comment. The only thing that I disagree with
That's crazy.
is, look, the DNC has always used climate change as a Democrat talking point. I would improve that to say as a cudgel to beat people over the head with. And Republicans have always denied climate change. No. Republicans, here's the problem with Republicans. Republicans are generally conservative people, and conservative people don't like the limelight. They're not sometimes very good at articulating under duress in a media-fueled environment their opinions. I don't think I've never met a Republican that denies climate change. I have assisted in Republican campaigns. I have held Republican office.
That's like a pure semantics point right there.
I have never met one that deny climate change. What they deny is the importance of socializing the economy in order to fight climate change.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You can disagree with the Paris Accords and the utility of nationalizing entire industries just to improve the 5 to 10% output in a certain aspect of the environmentalist movement that the United States has to lower the temperature 0.1 degree over a 100-year period. Okay? You may think that nationalizing an economy isn't worth that. And that's different than denying climate change. I mean, there's some people that deny it. I've never really met one. To me, it seems like one of those boogeymen that we just talk about that nobody ever actually meets. I actually think there's more legitimate flat earthers that are out there than people that say, like, there was never any ice ages. You know what I'm saying? But
but hold on. There is people.
There are people?
But they is people.
They is people.
No, but like I said, there are people that would, say that they consider themselves to be on the right, who they don't outright say the climate has never changed. But there are people on the right who have more of an argument of, I would say there's more, you could use the word skeptics, but more people along the lines of, I don't know, I think maybe, I think the argument is one side says, this is what climate change is, and then one side says, well, maybe, I don't know, and it's a semantics argument for the most part. That's what I think. I think there is definitely this weird semantics argument from both the right and the left over what climate change means. What are we talking about? How bad is it? It's mostly just semantic stuff. It's like, well, you said it's severe, but perhaps really it's just irreversible. You know what I mean? It's like, what are we talking about here? So I think I think those arguments do unfairly come from both sides. Unfair semantic arguments that don't matter. Now,
I 100% agree with Fred the Felon on this, saying finally with Andrew Yang, we have a new perspective, which is we're screwed. I agree that we have a new perspective. And yeah, Andrew is kind of cynical. He is a little bit cynical in his climate change outlook.
He's just saying this is what it is.
But I don't think we need to be that cynical. Okay? Anybody that studies Mother Nature knows that she is far more resilient than any of our scientists ever give her credit for. And I do not worry about Mother Earth like I worry about human beings killing themselves.
That's one of my favorite. I'm not gonna. There's a lot of stuff, but that's my favorite point. Is there any more arrogant statement that man can make than we are going to destroy the environment? Really? You think we're gonna win? The environment's not gonna outlast us? Maybe we will. Maybe I'm underestimating the strength of man, but I just think it's kind of this arrogant position of, oh, of course we can just annihilate the planet. It won't even exist when we're done with it. Like, well. Pretty bold, pretty lofty statement there. I do think that somehow in the long run, the planet will find a way to outlive us. So,
yeah. So, I agree with a lot of what Fred the Felon said here, and honestly, I think that is a huge contribution that Andrew Yang can add to the political conversation. Is hopefully an unpolarized discussion of a lot of these environmental issues. Like, for example, Trump signed this really interesting law. Well, actually, no, he didn't sign a law. It was a regulation by the EPA, but he supported a change in the EPA, like allowing large hotel chains to feed their excess food to pigs. Okay, and Vice News actually did a video on this, and it's hilarious because it starts out saying, while the Trump administration is not known for understanding climate change or endorsing positive legislation for the environment, they actually got this one right. And I'm like, wow, that like as though a propaganda outlet was literally forced to say something nice about their opponent under duress. And then it starts talking about how they literally approved the feeding of excess food from all of the buffets and large organizations like the hotels in Las Vegas to pigs in order to reduce the carbon imprint that it takes to raise pigs by using excess human food. And it showed how the whole system works, and it's actually growing. And I thought, wow, so he actually did something really good for our environment to help these large cities and metropoli, or is that the plural of metropolises? I'm not sure. It depends on whether it's Greek or English. You got both. But to help these metropolitan areas be more sustainable, So you got to give credit where credit is due, and I think Andrew Yang could positively impact the discussion because it's just toxic nowadays. You can't talk with your average activist on the left about environmental issues because he's Trojan horsing socialism. And you can't talk with your average Republican activist on it because it's almost as though they've just learned to reject anything the left puts out as just a Trojan horse for socialism. And so it's almost what we call a non-starter in business. It's like a toxic conversation you can't touch. And who knows, maybe with some math, he can touch it and do a good job. Jacob Wheel says, Cody has been right with the name, by the way. Oh, it's wow. Oh, whoops. Sorry. We already read that one. And what do you guys think if Yang would talk about giving huge incentives for electric cars?
Oh, hold on, one more.
What'd you say?
One more. Again, Jacob Weil, shout out. I want to see Fred the Felon as a live guest. We're working on getting everything set up so we can bring you guys into the guests on the streams. We're still a little way away, but we're working on it, guys.
Jacob, your wishes and your dreams will come true. Fred can attest to this. We have actually spoken on the phone at length multiple times. He's a very enthusiastic individual that I completely look forward to having on the show. However, as a trucker, it's dependent upon his travel schedule. So we pretty much have an outstanding invitation that the next time he comes into LA, he's going to swing by our studio and we're going to straight up record a video with Fred the Felon. So when you're saying your prayers tonight, hope that he gets a shipment somewhere into the Southern California region so he can swing by North Los Angeles. Anyway, you're a rock star, Fred. Okay, Andrew G., what do you guys think about if Yang would talk about giving huge incentives for electric cars and speed up the EV conversion from gas cars? Oh, okay. I've talked too much, Cody. Do you need to talk and say some things, or can I address this really fast?
By all means.
Okay.
I've got a super chat, though, by the way. BT Dubs.
Oh, BT Dubs? Here, hit the super chat really
fast.
So,
super chat from Kimmy. Hey, guys, who do you think will drop out in the next round of debates, and who their supporters will endorse for the next candidate? Honestly, we kind of want to do a video on that, but we can get into a little bit of the cursory stuff on that. Anyway, back to you.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll do one super chat first, then the next one. What do you guys think if Yang would talk about giving huge incentives for electric cars? Okay. The only thing you have to worry about electric cars is you have to take a very macro view of everything. Electric cars are great, but what if all of a sudden we manufacture an electric car for everybody in the United States? That would be a huge environmental leap forward, right? Oh, except for electric cars require 6 batteries. We haven't figured out how to dispose of battery acid yet without killing all the fishes in all the rivers surrounding those landfills. And don't forget, there's a massive carbon footprint and polymer footprint and chemical footprint in the manufacturing process itself. In fact, it's generally agreed that a gas-guzzling, oil-dripping military Hummer has an actual smaller carbon footprint in its lifetime than a Tesla or a Prius does. So you have to ask yourself, if I'm an environmentalist, do I curb my consumerist desire to get a new car that's hip and trendy and electric? It just to keep driving for 3 or 4 years my car that's already manufactured and runs on gas, because the carbon emissions from the gas engine are actually of smaller impact than the manufacturing imprint of this brand new EV. Really, one of the biggest problems that America has in terms of environmentalism is a spiritual problem, and that is of consumerism. It's not what we consume, but how much we consume, okay? Until we learn to curb our appetite, just as a man can become obese, our environment will suffer from us constantly needing to buy things. Also, the way we wrap things needs to be reconsidered. Metal, glass, paper, whole lot better than plastic. Those things don't biodegrade and or can be recycled, okay? So I think giving incentives for new cars is a good thing, but as long as they don't go so far as Obama did in his Cash for Clunkers program. He destroyed mom and pop mechanics shops that relied on the repair of older vehicles, because why repair an old vehicle when you can get a $5,000 credit for it? You know, and they weren't really turning in clunkers. The most commonly turned in vehicle during the Cash for Clunkers program was actually like only a 7 or 8 year old Ford Explorer that was passing smog and didn't have really bad carbon emissions. Okay. It was just a car the family didn't want anymore, and they decided to cash in on a credit. So it was this massive bailout that was a waste of time and money that didn't help anybody and actually hurt the economy of those that repair cars. So I would like to see the incentives for electric cars be not simpleton incentives of subsidies or demands, but of incentives in possibly the manufacture of cars, the availability of charging stations, or perhaps a modernization of the grid. Because don't forget, in many of these places, you're still charging your electric vehicle by burning coal. And burning coal in order to charge an electric car doesn't really make a lot of sense, because you're still burning fossil fuels. So we really need a lot of smart people that are not politically motivated, data-driven and scientifically motivated to help us figure out what incentives we need into assisting us in our transportation. Also, ironically, this is one of the things we haven't talked a lot about because we're constantly expressing our fear of automation. I look forward to some aspects of automation, especially here in Los Angeles, as a cure for traffic. I mean, one of the biggest problems with traffic is that when the light turns green, not all the cars start moving at the same time. Whereas if you have 10 automated cars in the same row, they'll all start moving at the same time. So you actually get more people through the intersection and have smoother flowing traffic. The traffic models of automated vehicles are so much more efficient than those driven by humans. So that's something I'm hoping automation will help. Let's just hope we got a UBI when we do it. And then finally, speed up the EV conversion from gas cars. Yes, one of my most favorite quotes I ever heard, I can't remember if it was like Elon Musk or if it was Mark Cuban, but it was one of the guys that was one of the big tech entrepreneurs, said, if Henry Ford were to come back and look at the car industry today, the man that invented the assembly line, his biggest criticism and question would be why are cars still driven by the internal combustion engine. The internal combustion engine was invented in the late 19th century, not the 20th century, the late 19th century. For over 140 years, we have powered internal combustion engines in the exact same fashion as our great grandparents did. Okay? That is a pathetic testament to the innovative capabilities of the human mind. Cars overtook horses in less than 2 decades, yet the internal combustion engine has not been replaced in nearly 2 centuries. It's pathetic. So anyway, we'll keep going. Hey guys, who do you think will drop out of the race? And
we did that one already.
Yeah, well, we didn't go in depth.
No, but we have more.
Oh, okay. Sorry, keep going. What about hemp? Not electric or oil? Hemp?
One. It's interesting, right? People use it. And then the last one is Peter R. Look up Tesla conspiracy. All the Teslas are environmentally unfriendly come straight from fossil fuel industry studies. We can recycle batteries. What say you to this?
To which part? Read the question.
Basically that they were slanted studies that you were citing and the batteries could be recyclable.
Well,
the gist of it.
What happens is, yeah, we do have recycling events, the tech recycling events all the time, but the problem is the
also, hold on. This could be a good response to both.
Okay.
Vignesh, a $20 comment. Thank you very much, man. Said, this is the one thing that I very much disagree with Cardin on. Electric vehicles are cleaner than fossil fuel vehicles, even when taking battery manufacturing and coal burning into account. Also, batteries can be recycled.
Okay.
People saying batteries can be recycled. I'll look it up and see what the answer is.
Everything. Now, this is also why I say we need a ton of very smart people to be figuring this out, because I swear, if you account for all the variables and all the semantic arguments, it would take an algorithm and a microprocessor to make the right decision. I'm going to go line by line here. This is the one thing that I very much disagree with Cardin on. We actually don't disagree. I just have not done a good job articulating it if this is what you think I think. Electric vehicles are cleaner than fossil fuel vehicles. Yes, once manufactured, they are not just cleaner, far cleaner than fossil fuel vehicles. The number one cancer-causing agent in the groundwater here in our hometown and in Los Angeles is a very unglamorous substance called motor oil. Plain old petroleum motor oil, okay? That just drips out of these engines, these internal combustion engines. You don't have this problem with electrical vehicles, okay? And gets into our groundwater and contaminates our groundwater. It's very difficult to filter out even with the most advanced systems, okay? So yes, electrical vehicles are cleaner than fossil fuel vehicles. Yes, that's totally true once manufactured. Even when taking battery manufacturing and coal burning into account, okay, there are some studies that suggest as we've modernized our grids in certain areas, yes, that is true as well. For example, Arizona, as it has modernized its grid and switched more to solar and these big, massive solar farms they have in the desert, they have been able to The vehicles have been cleaner. However, you have to take into account the carbon footprint of the actual solar panels themselves and the inefficiencies used in establishing the solar farm. Also, batteries, yes, they can be recycled. However, ultimately, they must be disposed of. And it's the disposal, okay, and the battery acid that leaks in the disposal process that is so problematic, okay? A lot of fishes die in a lot of rivers because of problems associated with the disposal of things. So, yes, batteries can be recycled. Also, we're totally learning, and what all of the people getting their PhDs in right now in electrical engineering and in manufacturing engineering and things like that. I know plenty of guys that work for the huge defense contracting systems here. The future, and even Elon Musk is on this with his Tesla home battery system. The future is going to belong to those who can figure out how to most efficiently store solar energy. And our battery technology is improving at leaps and bounds. So I think my semantic argument now of the necessity of analyzing a more holistic view of electronic vehicles is an argument that will be out of date in 20 years because our technology and manufacturing has improved. Okay? Not because my argument has changed or improved, but because of our manufacturing ability to improve. And I hope I've communicated this well and made sense, because that's also the reason why I think podcasting is so important, is because you can have these conversations. You can have these super chats by good guys like Vinesh, and that last name I'm going to butcher, so I won't even try. But this is good. This you do not get on CNN, because they're just trying to cram a bill down the throat of somebody that needs a pet project paid for in Indianapolis. And I was mixing Annapolis with Indianapolis.
How about this?
Okay.
Seriously, let's get back to this. Why did the DNC decide this debate wasn't worth having for their candidates? The seriously debate we're having right now, DNC said they rejected a resolution for calling for climate change debate. They said our candidates are not allowed to debate on the subject, not independently. They can talk about it in a larger debate, but they can't debate on it. So why do you think that is, man? Seriously. I don't know why they would do it unless they were afraid of the wrong candidate getting exposed. Like maybe Joe Biden.
Oh, that's interesting. The Obama administration had some horrible scandals with huge amounts of money being given to cronies of the administration for absolute, utter failures of projects, where I think lawsuits were involved. I remember the Solyndra scandal happened when Biden was vice president, and that was an absolute debacle in and of itself. So that could be they're trying to protect him, but also I just think the DNC is looking at this and saying, we will not look better at the end of this debate, because it will just be an absolute food fight between who cares more about the environment, and the oldest members of the party are the ones most vulnerable to attack. If you're a young member of the party, if you're Pete Buttigieg, if you're Kamala Harris, if you're, well, not even Kamala Harris, but if you're Kirsten Gillibrand, if you're, AOC, if you're any of the people up on the debate stage, you can just lob bombs at some of the older members of the party who've had to make compromises in order to get legislation through, as science-denying tyrants who don't care about Mother Earth because they compromised on X, Y, or Z bill in 1997. Okay? Just like Tulsi Gabbard hammered Kamala Harris on her record of imprisoning African Americans while claiming to care about civil rights, I could see Kirsten Gillibrand just dogging Joe Biden, or people dogging even Kamala about environmental legislation that she voted on while a senator from California. So I don't see, once again, if it doesn't benefit their establishment cronies, they won't do it, because they're not an ideological organization motivated by a positive ideology, but a political organization motivated by political power. And if it doesn't make their favorite people look powerful, they're not going to do it. So if it doesn't make Kamala Harris or Joe Biden look powerful, they don't want to do it. Who would benefit from that argument? I could see Bernie Sanders benefiting. I could see Andrew Yang. I could see Tulsi Gabbard. They don't want those people to win. They want Joe and Kamala to win. So that's my thought. Anyway, let's keep going. Mark Garnett makes up a really good point that luckily Al Gore educated all of us on climate change. Yes, he did. And he was right. He said Manhattan would be underwater by 2014. And I miss Manhattan. When I fly into JFK, I put my rain boots on and my soul cries a little bit knowing I'm going to have to wade in my fishing boots down Park Avenue. Wait, no, I don't have to do that. He was totally wrong. And that movie was pseudoscience. So,
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I have to say about that.
No, that can't be all. Really? That's it?
Let me see.
That can't be all, right? You got more.
Yeah. Dan Murphy.
Hold on, real quick.
Okay.
Want something kind of interesting?
What?
I've been going through that article about the DNC voting against having a climate change debate. And this is a comment from the woman, I believe, Pokolowski, I believe. She said, when it comes to the intersectional aspect of climate, it can be anyway, she said, what DNC chair Tom Perez ended up saying is that, I would rather have reality TV style debates where people are talking for 1 minute and then looking silly on TV than having substantive discussion on the issue. I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. But Andrew Yang bringing up the whole, this is like reality TV shows, debates are ridiculous. Suddenly, that's been the narrative. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I focus on Yang more, so I heard it from Yang first. But it's like the 5th place I've seen. Bernie Sanders famously said it on the Joe Rogan podcast. We're seeing more people come to the point and saying, oh yeah, the debates are basically a big reality show. I'm assuming everyone knew this. Did Andrew Yang just kind of, break that barrier a little bit, finally be the first person to just say it? Like, no, this is ridiculous. This is stupid. This isn't a real debate. And now the narrative that it is not a real debate is prevailing it's through a lot more than just the Andrew Yang, his opinion. We're seeing Bernie Sanders repeat the same opinion. We're seeing Podolowski saying the same thing. So I thought that was fascinating. That was an interesting part. Anyway, just to be fair, according to the actual DNC, what they said, their reason, during the discussion, several members quickly questioned why the party should prioritize climate change over issues like gun violence, election security, or black female empowerment. Well, no one said they couldn't also do those, but whatever. In response, Pelosi introduced an amendment that would allow candidates to engage in issue-specific debates related to the party's platform to gauge what appeals to voters ahead of next summer's Democratic National Convention and convention in Milwaukee, which, by the way, sounds like a really good idea. To me, that's a really good idea. We should have, the issues our voters care the most about. We should have debates on those issues and, see the voters think.
Are you talking about Jacob's Super Chat?
No, that was just reading the article, but.
Well, you just segued perfectly into Jacob's Super Chat. Can I read it?
Please.
Okay. Jacob Wheel, thank you for the Super Chat, brother. Says, new idea for debates. March Madness style brackets with winners decided by live audience vote and power ranked, hopefully just doing a better job than the power rankings of CNN that didn't include Andrew Yang. Each one can be 1 hour with 30 minutes each. Dude, okay. Jacob, you actually are not far off, and what you suggest is actually legal according to party law. You may remember when the Democrats in their 2014 national convention, I believe it was, or maybe it was 2012, when Mayor Viragosa, the guy that changed his name to run for mayor, he did a Beto O'Rourke and he changed his name. It was really funny. He actually was calling to order the DNC, and they were arguing whether or not they should start out with a prayer, because traditionally they started out with a prayer, but that would piss off too many people. So they were, arguing about whether or not they should start out with a prayer and so on and so forth. And they were doing the different orders of business. And Mayor Viragosa actually called for an audible vote. And he said, who here are for the yays? And everybody had to scream. Who here are for the nays? And everybody had to scream. And then when it was totally obvious that one side had won, but it wasn't the side that they wanted, he just said, oh, and the winner are the yays. So, let's move along. Next thing. You actually are allowed in party politics still to call an audible vote just based upon people cheering and screaming, okay? Now, if you're intellectually honest, if it's close, you'll settle it with, like, a decibel meter or something, but they didn't do that. Okay. However, go back and watch the video. Google this. It is absolutely hilarious. There's no reason we couldn't have March Madness style brackets where each candidate faces off with another and they're given their time allotment and then voted in or out by an audience's audible vote. That would be epic, both reality television and political debate.
It says live audience vote, not an audible vote. So maybe.
Oh, well, how
do a
it's,
phone-
oh, you're right. How the live
Apps?
audience could have like apps or something.
Or like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And they figured this out for Ask the Audience. God knows how long ago on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So I think we can figure it out today.
You know
for
what, dude?
debates.
No. It would have to be an audible vote.
No, it's
And
awful.
if you don't like the person, you throw tomatoes and rotten cabbage.
Good old fashioned with a Greek democracy or
Dude,
Roman democracy.
That's
One of them,
what I'm
right?
talking about, man. That's when men were men and they fought it out in the arena.
Jeez.
In the nude.
Please.
You know?
Anyway, how about this, though? I wanted to go through this, right? Someone earlier asked cabinet positions for Andrew Yang. I pulled up on Wikipedia. Here's all the cabinet positions. You want to just go through them real quick?
Yeah, well, can I say Fred the Felon super chat really fast before you do that?
Oh, by all means.
Experience is going to start being a liability. Dude, just like I said. The young ones with nothing to lose are going to be lobbing bombs at the older ones rather than an asset. Climate change and AI are bad for older candidates. I want a 25-year-old genius. Well, we'll compromise with maybe like a 45-year-old genius.
32? How old does he have to be?
Well, you have to be at least 35 to run for the presidency.
35, there you
so
go.
Andrew Yang's at least 35. I remember the AOC couldn't run because she's only 32, I think.
Well, she's 35.
She might be 33 now. She looks like she's 29, and I'd register to be a Democrat if she, if she wanted me. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
Just kidding.
Okay.
Seeing who's
Okay,
listening.
so
Anyway,
Andrew Yang's Secretary of State would be who?
well, first off, before we start, I just want to point out that I don't believe cabinet positions are specific and fixed. There's traditional ones that are generally always called, but a president's cabinet is not locked, like, for example, in legislation, like a state legislature or a state senate or the Supreme Court is. I believe that he can make up a secretary of something. He could say, like, the secretary of filtered water if he wanted to.
I believe these are the general ones.
But generally, you got Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of...
They're right here. You can look at them.
Oh, what are they? Oh, wow. Gosh, that's more than I thought. Okay, Secretary of State, Secretary of the Treasury. Yes, that's the mansion, or however you pronounce that weird name.
Yeah.
Defense, Attorney General. Yes, that's a cabinet position. Yes, but that's also an official bureaucratic position. What's that hand signal? I can't see it anymore.
You might want to check your Discord. I believe I sent you a link.
Yeah, you sent me a link. Sorry.
I believe I did it actually right in front of your eyes. But,
You're right. I'm sorry. This is so boomer of me.
Too
I
slick. Sleight of hand,
apologize.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, too slick.
Okay, cool. So
Secretary
while
of
you're
the
pulling it
Interior.
up, let's just go through it. So first one, Secretary of State, Foreign Relations Committee. Who is it? Andrew Yang. Boom. Go.
Gosh.
Speaking
Diplomacy
of,
is so huge to his platform. It would have to be something good. You know what? You know who I think he would choose? Would be a wise decision? Nikki Haley. She was in the UN.
Okay.
She's a pretty bipartisan person.
Okay.
I think that would be smart.
I probably spelled her name wrong, didn't I?
Nikki Haley, Secretary of the Treasury, that guy that likes Bitcoin, all of his Bitcoin advocates.
Who? I was so close to getting her name right. God
Yeah,
dang.
Secretary of Defense. I think there's a lot of people that would argue Tulsi Gabbard for that
treasury?
one.
For Yang's? This is Yang's cabinet. Otherwise,
Somebody Bitcoin. Somebody totally Bitcoin. I know he's had some controversial views on Bitcoin and whatnot, but I would like to see somebody like let's get Ron Paul out of retirement and have him audit the Fed. You know what I'm saying? That would be epic.
okay, so I got a crypto individual / Ron Paul.
Yeah, Attorney General. I would want Steven Crowder's lawyer to be the Attorney General. What's it called? Half Asian Bill or whatever he calls him. I can't remember. Secretary of the Interior. Not sure. Secretary of Agriculture.
Hold up. Secretary of the Interior. Energy and Natural Resources
Definitely
Committee.
not Van Jones. I think that's what he had before. Not Secretary of the Interior, but
What?
he was
That's
like
what Van
he was in the
Jones you're talking
cabinet
about.
for renewable energy in
It's
Obama's
not, tell
administration.
you who it won't be. It's not going to be Andy Milonakis, huh? That's a good one. That's good. I think it's a good one. Attorney General. Who's going to be?
You know what? I know people I would appoint, but I don't know if they're people that Andrew Yang knows. The Department of Interior.
Secretary of the Interior is what I meant. Secretary of the Interior, who's it going to be?
Well, the Secretary of the Interior, like, for example, I believe the national parks are under the Secretary of the Interior, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they're like people that handle with the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, and the management of our internal resources. Also, it's the Secretary of the Interior whose head is always on the chopping block whenever there's a controversy. I think about oil drilling and things like that. They oftentimes have to deal with the Secretary of Agriculture, but I believe they're in charge of the management of just like natural resources. Secretary of Agriculture, that's usually somebody that comes from the industry. And the Secretary of Commerce, gosh, let's get somebody in there. Let's get one of the sharks, man. Let's get one of the Shark Tank people in there. And the Secretary of Labor, I would what if he just got a robot? What if he just got an AI robot that was representing some genius somewhere else?
Hold on. So
as just a reminder that the robots are coming, so that his Secretary of the Interior wasn't even allowed to have meetings with him. It was just this robot that walked in with a TV face saying, "Hello, President Yang. What did you want?" Just so there was a physical robot there reminding him the automation is coming.
How about artificial intelligence for the rest?
Okay, artificial
we
intelligence.
We can do this for hours. So.
Yeah.
So here's what we got so far.
For Secretary of Education, I would just say Betsy DeVos, just to see the SJWs go crazy again for another 8 years.
Hold on, let me ask you a question, though. I actually pose this question to most people. Well, how much do you actually know about Betsy DeVos?
Actually, quite a lot.
Like what? I don't know much about her, so let me know.
Oh, she actually came from a very wealthy family in Michigan. That's one of the criticisms they have of her. However, their family has lost millions in charitable donations that weren't just corrupt Clinton Foundation donations.
Well, they didn't lose millions. They donated
Yeah,
millions.
they donated millions. Like she comes from an extremely philanthropic family that has been very, very interested, especially in school choice and how it affects the most impoverished communities. And because of that philanthropic work, she has been highly criticized, but caught the eye of President Trump, who he swore to appoint her. She also had extreme successes, very, very big successes before becoming the Secretary of Education in, I believe, her home state of Michigan. She has political ties of some sort. Not like Mitt Romney, where like my dad was the governor, but...
Okay, the Betsy DeVos book report. I'm sorry I asked. I know a lot about Betsy DeVos. I don't need to know any more about this woman. Where'd she go to high school? Was she on the track team or was it water polo?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not related to anything, but I just want to say that, guys, I absolutely love American media in the year 2019. Breaking news. Overstock CEO resigns after revealing his romance with accused Russian agent Maria Butina. Me and names, man. I can't say them. Whew. I don't know. I don't got much more on that one. I thought it was humorous and just like, dude, the state of this country, the stuff you see in the news.
What's hilarious, though, is the only reason why that's even news is because...
It's ridiculous? It makes no sense?
No, because the word Russian agent is in there.
Dude,
and their ability to lick their wounds, over the failed Russian collusion hoax, you know what I'm saying? And say, no, see, there's Russian agents somewhere doing some things.
She's actually a Russian spy. Maria Butina is a real thing. She's like in jail.
Okay, yeah. So, look, we've all met gorgeous Russian girls. And does it surprise you that if you're a spy, that you're going to go after the bazillionaire who's a head of an online company and then, try and get information out of the guy or become emotionally attracted to him? Okay, so
that's a story I want to hear more about at the least.
But if it doesn't have to do with Donald Trump, it's going to be Orange Man bad 30 seconds on the B. The B
Holy
slot.
Cow, man! You gotta it's like before you can even logically think of something, you gotta get through it's CNN.
It's
I gotta hate it.
It's CNN. No, it's not because I gotta hate it. Look, pull up the clip. I guarantee you the clip is less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. I guarantee you they don't do any follow up. No analyzing from professionals or talking heads, and then they slip in the hour of Chris Cuomo, they slip back into Orange Man bad syndrome. This is my biggest. I think you cut my mic. This is my biggest frustration. With CNN, it's like I don't want CNN to go away. I want them to be better. I miss the days of like watching CNN in the airport to see what's going on in the world I was about to travel into. And now when CNN's on in the airport, it's just like everybody's watching how people hate Donald Trump.
But see, that's it. This was something that had literally nothing to do with Donald Trump at all. Really nothing to do with Donald Trump at all. They don't mention Donald Trump. It's just a humorous and interesting story about
I have
a
proof
CEO.
in the affirmative.
No, you don't. What are you talking about?
If this were Overstock CEO resigns after realizing his romance with accused German agent,
That is insane.
Gertrude.
That is insane. What
Coke?
makes sense?
No. If it was a German agent, if it were a Chinese agent, maybe Chinese because the Hong
Hold
Kong
up.
thing.
How about this? We'll walk it back. Foreign spy. Would you want to hear that story?
Now even foreign spy is kind of cool because at least it's ambiguous and you can insert Cold War, Red
Russian
Scare.
agent is foreign spy. The same
Look,
thing,
bro,
man. The same thing. You are just so blinded by your weird
I'm not
hatred
blinded.
for CNN.
This
that
is
you
not
insist-
blind
You
rage.
insist that a foreign spy who was arrested, and we just found out had an affair with a CEO who's stepping
it's
down.
like
Is it
anti-Semitic
news?
tropes. It's
What?
like anti-Semitic tropes. You sense them, and you're like, yeah, this person's throwing out a trope. Okay, they're throwing out a
You're being
stereotype.
that guy. So what you really mean is, I don't care what you say, man. I know what you mean. It's obvious. It's all you can't tell. No, dude, this has nothing to do with Trump. I think it's humorous. I think it's funny.
And it probably only got 2 minutes and 30 seconds out of their 42 minutes of broadcast time.
It's not the news. It's not the story of the century. This is what I think's hilarious. This is what I think's funny. I brought up a story. Forgive me for thinking this. That I thought was just kind of humorous. Oh, it's kind of goofy. You look at the TV. Overstock CEO resigns over a Russian spy. What? And you go on this anti-CNN Trump tirade. Dude, who cares? I think it's funny.
Okay. Let me see. Chris Flores just says, I'm just going to eat some ice cream and watch Grumpy Old Men. I have no idea who he's referring to because neither of us are grumpy nor old.
Speak for yourself, man.
But youthful spring chickens here at Politics. Y'all cracking me up, says Grifter0730, and Michael Guzman says rail guards are down. Wow. And Peter R just said Cody is having a Cardin moment. Oh, Cody, you just had a Cardin moment. I like our fans today. They're freaking sticking up for me, man. Thank you.
Hey, you know what? I appreciate all you guys being free-spirited individuals and think whatever you want to think. You don't like them, man? I appreciate it.
Yeah, so Thyaracha says, Cardin, I never met a Russian girl. Oh, bummer. Actually, Russians are really cool. It's beautiful people.
Oh, hold on. It's my birthday in a few hours, so that would be Central Time, Mountain Time. Either way, Shannon Owens, happy birthday. Just get some happy birthdays in the chat.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Shannon Owens. Sure, that's really cool.
Russians are a beautiful people. Half of my frustration that I have with communism isn't just for the badness of the ideology, but what it did to Russia. Oh, I serve in the Boy Scouts of America with several escaped Russian, the grandparents of escaped Russian aristocrats during the Red Army's overthrow in like 1912 or something like that. I know it happened in the late 19th century, but the whole revolution was like a 20 to 30 year evolution of the whole entire landscape of the Russian social hierarchy. And it took a while, but you look at the art that was coming out of Russia. You can't look at Tchaikovsky and Dostoevsky and look at the great literature, the great paintings, the great everything that was done pre-communism. There's been wild documentaries done also of people escaping the Soviets that were hiding the modern art that was hanging in many of the museums of St. Petersburg and things like that were declared Western and, obviously unfit to print, so on and so forth, and were going to be destroyed, and people smuggled them out. I mean, the Russian people amaze me how just resilient and how they persevered. I mean, the World War II took on the Red Army and how they kept fighting the single most technological giant in the world, sometimes with one man carrying ammo while one guy had a gun. I mean, it was incredible. And don't make me World War II at. Oh, the drinking jokes are coming in already. I knew you were laughing. Oh, drink if Cardin says World War II. Yes, I got a lot of World War II references because I study it, buddy. And everybody should study it because Winston Churchill, here's another World War II quote, says, those who do not learn from history are what, Cody? Doomed to repeat it.
Oh, I've never heard that one before.
You know?
I think it's a Medal of Honor Allied Assault for the
Oh my gosh,
PC. Good game.
Ploop says Russian women are hot until we hit 30. Are you Russian, Ploop? And if you are, I feel safe confiding this in you. Us Polish people kind of have the same problem. Everybody is hot in Warsaw, Poland. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's gorgeous and looks like they're 23, okay, until they hit 30 and they jump straight to 40. Like there's no 30-somethings in Poland. They're all like total gorgeous, sexy, tall, awesome skin, big eyes, beautiful, like supermodels, and then straight up like babushkas. You know what I'm saying? Just grandparents. Nobody's their daddy age. They're all teenagers or grandparents. You know, we don't have a shelf life. You know what I'm saying? We're not like Andrew Yang, who in some of his pictures looks like he's, you know, still like in his freshman year of college. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Thyracha says, Cardin, you're cherry picking. Relax. Oh, what am I cherry picking? I don't remember already.
Exactly. I do it so often. You have to be more specific.
Oh, Thyracha.
This cherry picking or that cherry picking? Or was it that one? Could have been. You know what? It could have been that one.
Cardin, stop cherry picking. And then she said, Cardin, stop cherry picking before. Cardin, you should listen to Chris Cuomo first.
No, dude, no. That's a big ask. Just
Oh,
hear the guy
she's
out first
defending
before you
Chris
comment
Cuomo.
on him? Maybe.
Thyracha, Cardin, I never met a Russian guild. You should. They're nice. Just make sure they're not like a secret agent like the poor Overstock.com guy. What am I cherry picking? Thyracha. By the way, are we pronouncing
Please,
that
be
right?
more specific. There's so much.
Yeah. Anyway, so Cody, we've gotten totally distracted by the super chats, which is an absolute good thing. What else were we talking about that has happened this week with Andrew Yang?
Well, I guess so. Let's recap a couple of things.
Okay.
One, pretty funny. This came out today. DNC rejects resolution calling for climate change debate. DNC said, "Sorry, candidates, you actually cannot do a debate specifically on climate change, even though a lot of people want you to." There was even, I believe the story goes on to cite further on down. After the resolution was rejected, a group of around 50 members of the Sunrise Movement, which pushes for action on climate change, stood up and began repeating a chorus of "Whose side are you on?" Right? I guess that's how you say it.
Okay.
Before walking out. The youth-driven environmental advocacy group also protested outside the DNC headquarters in Washington during the first televised presidential debates in June. There's people already showing up at these things protesting you for not doing it, and it's like, is it really that hard to have one debate that's optional for candidates where they speak about climate change, and you can have just the same, like the 10 who qualified already for the real debates, you can also go to this if you want. Is that so hard? I don't know. But that was one story we talked about.
You know, my aunt's wife is a, not an executive, but, you know, big in one of the national parks here. Actually, one of the most traveled to national parks in the world. And lovely woman, and it's intriguing speaking with her. And it's interesting because she's not, you know, very political at all. Lovely person, but every once in a while around election time, you'll start seeing posts where she'll say, what candidate actually is prioritizing climate change? And, you know, being an executive, being one of the, you know, like, I don't know what the title is, whether it's superintendent or whether it's director or whatever, of one of these national parks, she has a deep-seated, you know, like the marrow in her bones desire to see this beautiful, beautiful park preserved. And not just the park, but all of this nature. Like, we are blessed as a country to have virtually an entire continent with everything from deserts to mountain peaks in it and everything beautiful in between. It should be top of our priority list, not screwing it up. And she genuinely asks, when election season comes around, who actually is caring about the environment? And I don't really know. I don't really know what a good answer is for that, because I know there's people that are pretending to care and spewing talking points, but there's very few people that I feel truly care, because if you truly care, you have to be willing to accept some realities. And these are some realities that Andrew Yang actually accepts and attracted me to his candidacy. For example, the adoption of nuclear power. Nuclear power is the cleanest form of electricity that we have that can deliver electricity on a massive scale to an entire metropolitan community. And that's why they use it to give 40% of the electricity to Manhattan. And all it does is raise the temperature of the Hudson 1/2 degree for a half mile of the river. It doesn't kill any fishes, doesn't produce any algae blooms, nothing. It has almost a figuratively zero environmental impact because it's nuclear energy. And Andrew Yang knows that's a kind of controversial subject, and he avoids talking about it. Very few people know that Andrew Yang is actually not your typical left-leaning, we need solar powers everywhere person, because he understands the limitations of a lot of these alternative energy sources and adopts nuclear energy. That's one of the things I like about him. Also, he understands, and he's said this in many commentary and many videos, that you can't be serious about climate change unless you're willing to talk to the Chinese about the coal-burning power plant they build once every 2 days. As we slowly replace our coal-burning electrical plants across the United States of America, every couple of months, one shuts down and you see about it on the news and it gets replaced by, who knows, a hydroelectric dam or solar panels or wind or whatever, okay? As we're slowly trying to get rid of them, China is building them to the tune of one every 48 hours. So you can't come at me from a worldwide perspective and say that you want to help with climate change unless you are willing to put some serious pressure on India and China concerning their power creation and consumption policies. That's why I said earlier in this podcast that the reason why the Secretary of State is going to be such an important pick is because a lot of Andrew Yang's priorities depend upon diplomacy, the diplomacy of all those diplomats in the State Department. So I'd be curious to see who he hires. That person better be one heck of a diplomat, because I don't see how you would go up against China with anything other than military threat to stop them from building what they need to build to get power as a sovereign nation. If you care about the environment, you have to address the Chinese issue. It's not an American problem like it is a China problem. And that's not to say we don't have things to do here. We really have to look at what coal ash does to our environment here. We have to look at the carbon footprint of our meat-consuming society and our consumerism. There's a lot to look at inward. But let me tell you, that's like comparing this little pile to the Chinese pile over here when it comes to pollution. So anyway, that's an interesting point. Thyracha says, okay, cherry picking Cuomo. What do you think about the Vietnam War? I'm Vietnamese and truly want to know more. Oh, you're Vietnamese. Awesome. My cousin married. Yeah.
Before the Vietnam War thing, so I'm going to get a super chat. I think both these will be interesting. We'll get to both topics. Thomas Person, $5. Great countries, so few get to see. American exchange student policy will be great for this. While we get back to answering the question, I'm going to really quickly post the link to the video we did that in below, but then I want to get back to that, Thomas, and talk more about that later. But sorry, back to you.
No, Thomas, you bring a really good point up. We actually did an entire video about this. There's statistics to back up your thoughts. Look at the amount of citizens in both Canada and Australia that have passports and have traveled to a foreign country on a foreign continent within the past 10 years. And it's like almost a majority of the citizens, or at least the people over the age of 18. Other countries travel a lot. Americans don't really leave their country a lot. And some of that's a natural consequence of us just having so many places to visit within the country. I mean, let's face it, traveling from Los Angeles to New York is the same distance as like traveling from, Paris to Moscow, okay? So some of it's just geography, but also Americans, we don't get out much, for lack of a better term, compared to other countries. And so that's a really good idea for the American exchange student policy. And also, Thyracha, cherry picking Cuomo, what do you think about the Vietnam War? Hey, if you like Cuomo, you like Cuomo. And as long as it's a personality thing, I'm okay with that. It's okay to like people based on their personality, or else I would have no hope, and Cody would run this show. Anyway, I'm Vietnamese and truly want to know more. What do you think about the Vietnam War? The Vietnam War was a tragic representation of what can happen when groupthink, the military-industrial complex, polling, re-election concerns, and political ideology based off fear, not love, all combine into one and are not checked by our better halves and our better selves. That's how you get things like the Vietnam War. We were dragged into it because of the technicalities of a treaty that we had with the French. After World War II, we were allies with the French. Therefore, any attack on the French was an attack on us. And there was a threat from the communists to take over the French colonies in Vietnam. Thus, we were forced to engage. And of course, we engage a little bit in our toes in the pond, but then our pinkies in the pond, but then the whole hand and the whole foot's in the pond. The next thing we know, we're swimming in, and we're running this war that was started by on behalf of an ally, and now we're thinking we're stopping communism, and now we're bombing, and we're having to violate sovereign nations in order to bomb, and we're having protests here at Kent State that are going bad because National Guardsmen are shooting students, but wait, one of the students was crazy and shot first, but oh wait, we don't know, but the tapes just came out, and now we have this massive debacle that divided the nation. I don't think we've actually even been more divided. We've come close, but we've never been more divided in recent history than we were over the Vietnam War, and it's tragic. And the sad thing is Vietnamese people are beautiful. My cousin married a Vietnamese woman. We had a traditional Vietnamese Catholic ceremony with all of the 3 traditional dresses and the envelopes where you give money. And she's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's talented. Their children are amazing, very intelligent, lovely, lovely, lovely people that we should be trading with and visiting and considering this awesome ally. But unfortunately, they're still communist, and they're kind of just barely now. I think John McCain actually was one of the first diplomatic visitors from the U.S. there. They signed a treaty during the Obama administration in which we kind of repaired ties with Vietnam after having not been there for so long. So anyway, the Vietnam War has its own history that should be studied and understand. And if you're Vietnamese, you're lucky, because Vietnamese people are beautiful inside and out. And that's what I think about the Vietnamese, and that's what I think about the war. So I don't know. You got anything to add to that, Cody?
No, pretty. I mean, I don't know. To be frank, I've looked into the Vietnam War a little bit about it, but to be frank, don't know a whole lot about all of it. I think it's a great example of the really, really stupid military conflicts the United States seems to have spent the last 70, 80 years of nosing their way into, where it doesn't work. I think one great, I saw an interview with a soldier from the war. I thought he made an interesting point where he basically said something people are saying today. It's always fascinating, where he's like, it was like every time we did anything and actually, shot any enemies or took any ground, we just made 15 more. And we just were literally making the problem worse. And I thought that was an interesting point. That's all I got to say. I wish I could say more. I don't know enough to really speak too much about it. So that's about it.
Yeah, it's a documentary you should watch. It's hilarious. Ken Burns did it, and every single person he interviews, you find out at the end of the documentary was a total leftist. From all of the actually I shouldn't say a leftist, but all from the anti-war community.
And
well, it just makes for a biased documentary when you're only interviewing people whose opinion is from one side. So that might have been just because others didn't want to participate or whatever. But nevertheless, an intriguing documentary that I think is of merit that should be watched is the one by Ken Burns. It's long. You're going to devote 10 hours to it. But it is incredible, and you will have a much, much, much deeper understanding of your own culture here in America, how the Vietnam War affected us, and how it still kind of affects us to this day. Stephen Lin, why have I never met an obese Vietnamese girl? Probably the diet's a lot better. Not too many carbs. You know what I'm saying? Not too much gluten. So
I thought Vietnamese. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Vietnamese food actually was influenced a little bit by a French cuisine, and actually it used like some baguettes and similar things.
Oh yeah, no, there's undeniable French influence in Vietnamese cuisine because it was a French colony for I think over 100 years. It's interesting because I got that cousin that married the traditional Vietnamese Catholic family. I've got a cousin once removed who was the first 4 or 5 star. I can't remember what the exact terminology is, how many stars it is, but the first 5-star rated Vietnamese American chef. And in Fremont, California, she's got a restaurant. We ate there, and it is awesome. Vietnamese food is really good. You don't want to live above a family that's cooking it authentically sometimes because that process might stank a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But the food is amazing. And any of us that live here in Los Angeles, we all have had probably every nationality of Asian friend out there. I grew up with tons of Koreans, Vietnamese, Laotians, Thai, obviously Japanese, Chinese, both Mandarin and Cantonese speaking, so on and so forth. So yeah, if you got Vietnamese friends, get to know them, eat the food. It's great. Well, most of the food. Yeah. Like with Filipinos, I won't eat balut. I won't do the chicken egg. I can't do it. So anyway, keep going. Cody, what else are you talking about?
Well, I thought this would be interesting. We've been looking at this every couple of days, really. I'm just loading it right now. But the Real Clear Politics aggregate for the 2020 polls. Taking a while to load, guys. Apologize. I had a second go. Here we go. So this is what we noticed last time we looked at this, which was pretty fascinating and doesn't seem to be any different. So if I guess you missed this last time we did a stream a couple days ago, if there's any trend that stands out to you about all of the front runners polling on this aggregate, what would it be? What trend stands out amongst them, Carden?
What trend stands out? Are you talking about the trend that we noticed yesterday?
Yeah, a couple days ago. And anyone in chat,
Yes.
anyone in chat can tell us what's weird about this graph.
To me, the math doesn't add up in the last month. That's how I would.
Anyway, spoilers. If you notice, let me make the map bigger. Sorry, guys. If you notice, every single front runner has fell down in the last few weeks. Buttigieg would be the purple line, the only one gaining any ground. Very weird. I don't know why. I'll go 538. Oh, it's a good idea. We'll go to 538 first as well. But I don't know. So I thought that was interesting, worth noting. That there seems to be fall coming from some of the top polling candidates. Biden's probably getting to one of the closest points he's been to a second place candidate in a while. It'd be even closer if they didn't fall as well. So it's really, like I said, frankly bizarre. I really can't give a good enough reason for why I think that'd be happening. Someone mentioned it's just end of summer. People are like, I don't really care that much anymore. Just in general, less enthusiasm, less people voting. I could see that as a plausible explanation, but to be frank, I just can't really give a real reason why. I don't know if you guys have any better explanations in the chat, but
can we go over the memes from Discord that we liked, or are we not spoiling that for the VOD on the live stream?
You know what? If you want, I'll pull a few up I think are funny right now, and then we'll do a
because
video
we've had
later.
a couple. We've had a couple in the past couple of days that are gut-bustingly hilarious.
Yeah, I'll pull one or two up right now, and then we'll save some for the video, but I'll pull one up.
Anyway,
hold up. This one is you're not gonna actually, Carden, tell me if you get this one.
Okay.
Let me know in chat if you get this one. Whoever made this one, I
love your
this.
facts. Say something again. Amazon is closing 30% of our malls and stores over the next 5 years. We love your facts. Say something again.
If you didn't get it by now, you're not gonna get it. There's no context you could read into to figure out what this is.
Do you have to be familiar with the cartoon?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. I'm not. What cartoon is that?
Dexter's Laboratory.
Am I totally booming it right now?
I don't know. Chat, let them know. Maybe I'm not as old as I thought I was. Anyway, I'm gonna really quickly explain a little bit more about. Because I like doing this because sometimes we see these stuff, people laugh at them. I don't get why it's funny. Here we go. This is what's in reference to.
Okay. All right.
Oh, hold on. Why is there no volume? Sorry, guys. Here we go.
You can say that's all you can say. Omelette du fromage. Omelette du fromage.
Okay.
What did you say?
Is he gonna get beat up?
Omelette de fromage? Oh, Dexter.
Oh, we love your French.
French is the language of love. Oh, say it again, Dexter. Omelette de fromage.
Oh my gosh. That
Anyway.
is actually well known
Anyway,
enough in American pop culture to become a meme.
That's what memes are, dude.
Wow.
I always get you a SpongeBob stuff, like I don't remember that. I'm like, God, that's weird.
Dude,
I thought
I've seen
people
one
just
episode
did.
of SpongeBob.
I know, but like to me, there's something in SpongeBob. I just think that people know. So yes.
Wow.
Anyway, I thought that'd be a fun moment to do, kind of highlight that. I like
we
doing
love
that.
your facts.
'cause-
Say something again.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Because Carton, you make me realize like not everyone gets this stuff, so I want to make sure we take time to just kind of bring people on the joke. That's why I like this one. Stood out to me. It's pretty funny. That's kind of we talk about the power of memes, man. I look at this and in my head I think I'm gonna do fromage, but also
Anya
the power of
Arim
repetition.
just trolled me a little bit. Says, "LOL, you probably didn't watch Cartoon Network as a kid. My mother was a public educator. She was an elementary school teacher, and she was hell-bent on me becoming literate and cultured. And she viewed television just as this zombie machine where you couldn't watch more than an hour of it a day, or else it would just suck your brains out like Jim Carrey in Batman Returns or Batman Forever, whatever that was with the television box. And she said, you can't just watch filth. And by filth, she meant Beavis and Butthead, The Simpsons, everything like we laugh at now and my friends were talking about at school. You know what I'm saying? So she was probably good.
But that is culture.
Well, she was probably good in having preserved me from wasting endless hours playing video games and television. But what's hilarious was she wanted me to be cultured, though. So she had me watch cultured movies. And by cultured American movies, she meant every single musical Rodgers and Hammerstein ever put out. I mean, I watched everything from State Fair to South Pacific to The King and I. And I remember being mortified. Just like I hated the kissing scenes, so we had to zoom through them, and my mom would make me listen to the song, but I can still sing more Rodgers and Hammerstein show tunes, you know what I'm saying, than I can like Beavis and Butthead and SpongeBob SquarePants quotes, though I did like Ren and Stimpy, which seems very similar in style to SpongeBob SquarePants. So I can do better with the gay guys on Broadway, and show tunes than I can with like, my jock friends that watch SpongeBob. It's because my mom had me watch all these Rodgers and Hammerstein movies. So before I burst into song about how, the wind comes sweeping down the plain, if anybody got that memes in the 90s before the internet.
You missed culture. You didn't get culture. You didn't get Dexter's Lab and Codename Kids Next Door. Ed and Eddie, you know that? What did Ed and Eddie want more than anything in the world? What did Ed and Eddie see?
Dude, I don't know what. Give me a Ren and Stimpy. Like, I was good at Ren and Stimpy. I can sing the log song.
No, but we're not boomers. We're talking about
Ren and Stimpy's not boomer.
It's close.
Is Ren and Stimpy boomer?
It's close. It's like
that's not boomer.
It's like
boomer is like the Andy Griffith Show.
No, not really.
Boomer is like Dragnet.
Nah, boomer's like over the
boomer
age.
is
of
like get smart the first time around.
Modern colloquial definition of boomer, which is like people over the age of 26. Anyway, I want to show this meme that I'm speaking of. This one cracked me up. This is, you know what? God dang it! This is the level of political debate we deserve in this country. All right.
Hold on, I'm congratulating Sam Sibley for understanding that it was an Oklahoma reference. Same with Blinter Zabot. You are children of light.
Anyway, so we have a tweet here from Marion Williamson saying food $200, data $150, rent $800, orbs $3,600, utility $150. Someone who is good at the economy, please help me budget this. My family is dying. And then Amy Klobuchar says spend less on orbs, to which Marion Williamson responds no. I love that. Not even a period, just 2 letters. No.
Okay.
We deserve at least that level of political discord in this country.
So Semper Malice says D-Wire Cast said some nice things about Yang today. We can talk about that in a second. Before we talk about that, can you pull up the D-Wire Cast thing? Shanna Owen says close. Thomas says not boomer. Adam says, yeah, it's boomer. Aaron sums it up by saying it's old. And then a bunch of people say it's basically Gen X. So
there's boomers and not boomers. We live in the world of the boomers and the not boomers. Are you one or not?
Well, Ren and Stimpy, when did that come out, man? I was in elementary school in 1995, 1994. That's kind of when it was big. Yeah, 90s, that is kind of Gen X. But you had to be an adult in the 90s, not a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Ren and Stimpy is 1991 was an originally broadcast.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, maybe we were just behind the time. Well, no, maybe the first episode, but it had to have had multiple.
The last episode was 1995.
Yeah, I was right, 1995. So I must have been watching the last season of Ren and Stimpy. Oh, geez, man.
Dexter's Laboratory, for reference.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Originally debuted in... fascinating. I want to show you guys this. To settle our debate. You know, that's the eternal debate, man. Who is a boomer and who isn't a boomer? That's the eternal debate. Whoops, you didn't see that. Whoops. Anyway.
Stephen Lynn, my mom is a teacher. I had my first TV in my early 20s. Dude, my mother said heck no to a TV in my room. All my buddies had a cube TV with the NES system, and I wanted it so badly, but there were some studies that showed children with television in the room had lower literacy rates. So she was like, no.
Want to hear a funny little story?
Now, I read at like a 5th grade reading level by the time I was in 2nd grade. You know what I'm saying?
You know what helped me read a lot?
Comic books.
No, comic book. Get freaking boomers,
Hey, my mom
man.
did her master's thesis on comic books,
man.
And they totally help kids.
Paper? Yeah, paper,
literate.
man. That's what I was playing with when I was a kid. I was playing with paper. I was making a little...
Dude, there's an authenticity to comic books.
I'm just kidding. No.
The smell of the paper.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, the video game Pokemon. I learned to read a lot from Pokemon. A lot of words I never came across otherwise. The word psychic. Remember, that's where I first recognized the word psychic was from Pokemon.
Yeah, and actually, it's one of the reasons
shout
why...
outs to Game Freak.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I don't necessarily fear Roblox for my son. He's really into Minecraft and Roblox. And it's interesting because I can recognize that he is frustrated and unable to play at the same level as other kids that he wants to play with because of his inability to read, and it's motivating him to learn words. You know, he's just barely started kindergarten and he's already wanting to read. Okay, it is implanting a desire in him to go read because it's inhibiting him from playing. Whereas when I was a kid, learning to read inhibited you from going and playing baseball or going on your bikes and playing whatever with your friends. Whereas now, video games are making it so your ability to read determines your ability to play. Therefore, you are incentivized to learn to read, which I find to be interesting. So anyway, engaging life's moments. I love your YouTube handle. That is amazing. He said he grew up on Ren and Stimpy in the 80s. Couldn't have been in the 80s. Anyway, okay, let's keep going.
Dude, I don't make the rules. I'm a boomer, okay? Like I'm saying, if I'm a boomer, you're a boomer, okay? Shout outs to Pokemon taught me everything I currently know by Kibble Spitz. And Pokemon is love, Pokemon is life. Pokemon has brought meaning to my life. My little brother's Pokemon card game champion. Oh, shout outs to him, dude. That's awesome.
Aaron, does Cardin look like Jack Black? Dang it! I was just about to say how much I thought the UBI would bring meaning to people's lives and make all kinds of cool references to our spiritual needs and how they're tied to our economic situation. But now Shanna brings up the point that yes, you know what? When I was young, actually, people used to say I looked like Vanilla Ice. I had the hair.
I don't know what's
there
worse.
was one time I had bleached it,
What's worse?
and I was happy to be considered skinny like Vanilla Ice. As I got thicker and taller, all of a sudden people started saying, "Oh, you look like who was that '70s show? He married G.I. Jane.
Masterson?
No, G.I. Jane is what's her name?
Oh, Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton
Her
Kutcher,
name is
yeah.
Demi Moore, by the way.
Demi Moore, yes. So then people started saying, "Oh, you
Hold
look
on.
like Ashton Kutcher."
Before we get to that, Fred the Felon's got a question. I think it's a good one.
Okay.
What's more important, good TV commercials or memes? I have probably a shorter answer than you on this. I would say, once again, man, depends on your audience.
Yeah.
However, though, I will say memes have a really good way. I saw it happen in 2016. A lot of people, we can debate boomers. I'm talking literal baby boomers. Went from being kind of, general politics, just as like I watch CBS, to like really being motivated for both Hillary and Trump through memes online. So I think you can reach an older audience with memes than you maybe can with some other things. Although, realistically, I would say you need both, or you need a pretty sophisticated blended plan where regionally one thing, regional is another. But
yeah, we had a
it'd be
congressional.
tough. It's tough. I don't know.
Yeah, we had a congressional race here where $1 million was dropped in the last week just on TV commercials, and it didn't move the needle 0.1% in our local congressional race. $1 million dropped in 1 week on TV commercials. And that just goes to show you that the old vote early. They vote. They've chosen a month before it's out. I think it depends on at what point you're in your campaign when you should invest in it and how much you should invest depending on what your return is going to be. With the younger crowd, the return on investment is so much higher with digital media because that's what they consume. I mean, come on, I don't watch TV anymore. I'd rather watch a live stream of some YouTube personalities that I enjoy and want to hang out with. Super chat at them.
Hey, by the way, shout out to not watching television and instead watching live streams with YouTube personalities. I don't know. I just thought, for whatever reason, that kind of stood out to me. So shout outs to doing that.
So Mark Arnett brings up something interesting. But before we go to Mark Arnett's comment, I will defend myself. Once I looked like Vanilla Ice. Then as I grew bigger, I would look like Ashton Kutcher. I'd get that a lot. Then when I started lifting weights and getting bigger, I got Dolph Lundgren. When I served in Argentina.
Are you blonde?
Yeah. No, my hair under the sun gets a lot lighter brown. And especially in Argentina, where American action movies are huge, they'd be like, "Oh, Rocky Cuatro, vos sos como Rocky Cuatro." You know what I'm saying? El Polaco. And they would, that was actually more of a Mexican accent, actually. They would say like, "Oh, como el Polaco" in Argentina, who is the big Polish guy, Dolph Lundgren, that's in Rocky 4. And then I gained a bunch of weight, and people started saying I look like Jack Black. Sorry, Jack.
Which one do you prefer, Jack Black or Dolph Lundgren?
Jack Black's paycheck. You know. Anyway, actually, dude, if people mistook me for Dolph Lundgren, I would take that because that guy knows like 4 languages and has an IQ
he's like
of
a chemist, I think. He has like a degree in chemistry.
Yeah, he has a degree in chemistry, and people don't realize like he's in like the top 1% of Mensa. So anyway,
hold up, Carden. I got to boomer test you again.
Okay. Shout out to Daniel from American Jobs Factory by Fred the Felon.
Oh, shout out to Daniel, American Jobs Factory. What up, man? I think he's in LA.
Daniel was the first to recognize us at the Los Angeles rally.
I think he's in LA. We're going to
be meeting up with Daniel.
Anyway, but yeah, or spoilers. So boomer test. Do you know what this joke's in reference to, Carden?
Okay. Yeah, I totally know what that one is.
Okay.
That's Anakin Skywalker getting his legs chopped off because I've got the high ground, Anakin. Don't do it.
That'd be it.
But I hate you. Bad CGI as I fall into the river of fire.
Okay,
Worst movie because it destroyed the villain known as Darth Vader and made him look like a Boy Scout filmmaking project after the machines had fixed him up. Instead of going with this big, deep Darth Vader roar, he goes, "No!" for 2 seconds and end scene, thus making absolutely anticlimactic and cheapening the single most destructive and Joseph Campbell-esque villain of all time. I mean, you could go anywhere in the world.
I disagree entirely.
You thought, oh my gosh, please, everybody in the chat, I want to know, did you think they did a good job showing the creation of Darth Vader in the prequels, or did they absolutely ruin the Darth Vader character and you wish you never saw it? I want to know.
Well, my point would just be I think they made a cooler character in Chancellor Palpatine. I prefer him to Vader. So
Darius Sheffield is a D-bag. He's not commenting about
no,
Darth Vader.
Shout out to Switch. No, he's talking to, I believe, Hillary is a clown. She's the word evil itself. That's one of your friends.
That's funny.
Wasn't that bad, but wasn't great.
I love it how Aaron Wilt says Fred has spoken. That's funny. So, anyway.
The Chancellor Palpatine's cool. Anyone who says the prequels are all bad, they really made Chancellor Palpatine a very interesting character. Yeah, it's the
the Trogdor says they butchered it.
Hey, it's like a rule. If you're on YouTube long enough, the prequels will get brought up and people will talk about it. Doesn't matter what the subject, doesn't matter what the channel. Eventually, the prequels come up. That's it.
You know, Mark Arnett brings up an interesting point. I love the prequels. The storyline arc is amazing. Script, not so much. Okay, that's fair. American Jobs Factory ruined it. Yes. We knew you were a man of intelligence.
It wasn't a great movie. If you know who Dolph Lundgren is, you're a boomer. I'm telling you, man. If I'm a boomer, you're a boomer, okay?
No. Josh Ring, now hold on a second. You don't have to be a boomer to know who Dolph Lundgren is. He is as eternal as Cheerios, man. That brother, you can see him on any TBS late night movie. If you got $200,000 to throw at a production, you can get Dolph Lundgren on the screen. I think he has the same agent as who is Snakes on the Plane?
Samuel L. Jackson. Way better.
Samuel L. Jackson and Nicolas Cage are buddy from the Yang Gang. They say yes to any movie. All right. So does Dolph Lundgren. All right. They all have the same agent. You answer his phone and he says, "Yeah, we'll take it," and just puts it down. So I don't think you have to be a boomer to know who Dolph Lundgren is, but there's probably a really good chance you are if you do.
I would say if you know who Dolph Lundgren is, you're a boomer. But if you know who Ivan Drago is, then you're not a boomer. So.
Dude, Fred the Felon says, I spent $300 a week on Yang Super Chats. BITCH. Fred the Felon is the most happy UBI warrior I've ever met in my life. And by the way, if you're going to have a freaking hobby, what better hobby than talking Andrew Yang and super chatting up Andrew Yang? And that's actually really why. This is why the mainstream media they've gone so that they fear new media. They absolutely fear new media. And part of the reason why they malign new media is it's in the same thread of thought from which they malign Andrew Yang, because they know that, gosh, it's not worth paying $4 million to sponsor an NBC show more now, when I could take that $4 million and online get more leads, more branding, more coverage, more traction. Okay, gosh, you get on the Joe Rogan podcast and you've got more eyeballs on you and more views than getting on Jimmy Kimmel. Yet Joe Rogan doesn't cost that much money. So yes, the mainstream media, the traditional broadcast media market, they are the old kings sitting in the old castle who know that their power is waning and that they're getting old and they're sick. Yet they're hoping that none of the people in their kingdom or in court realize it, because the second they do, they'll trounce. All of this crappy clickbait and the just poor, subpar journalism we're getting from the mainstream media is just evidence of its death spiral and its death throes, and why new media is so important, up and coming. I mean, look at this. We are having a conversation with hundreds of our fans simultaneously. They're able to super chat us. They're able to support us. We're able to make more content. We're able to develop relationships with these people. I can't do that to Jimmy Kimmel. I can't do that to Stephen Colbert. I can't ask him a question. I can't be up to date on what's happening from my iPhone with these guys. And they absolutely hate it. They are the spoiled kings in the castle who never learned how to work because they were princes from a young age, and they're losing their power and they're fighting over their fiefdom as we simply just have fun and talk Yang while they're arguing over why Hillary Clinton lost 2 years ago. So I don't think you're old until you act like it. And Fred the Felon, you want to know what? You ain't acting like it. So that's about as unboomer as you get, having fun in the super chats.
Okay, speaking of super chats, moving down, I actually have this queued up. If you would like to introduce it.
What am I queuing up? Oh, yes. Marianne Williamson. Dude, we haven't gotten to this yet. It's already 8:09 Pacific Standard Time. Gosh.
Hey, shout outs to Pacific Standard Time, by the way, everyone. Come on, can I get a round of applause in the chat for Pacific Standard Time? Anyway, so.
Yeah, it's interesting. Kirsten Gillibrand ripped off democracy dollars, and now instead of ripping it off, she's simply being nice and supporting it.
Well, Marianne Williamson now. Yeah. Anyway, Jordan Nelson, shout out for the $5 super chat. Marianne Williamson is adopting Yang's 1,000 a month UBI on her platform. And here we go. This is from, oh my God, wasn't Catherine Clifford the woman who wrote the article calling Andrew Yang the free cash handout candidate? Remember? And then she had to write this paragraph as a title. I think it was her. Anyway, so let's go through the article, and then we'll kind of get the background on exactly what she's proposing. I'm pretty sure it's just basically freedom dividend, but the orb dividend, I don't know, whatever you call it. Well, Andrew Yang is the best known. Yeah, this definitely is that same person. They learned their lesson. When Andrew Yang is best known as Democratic presidential hopeful touting free cash for Americans, despite what she had learned. He's not the only one. I guess free cash is technically right. The much that canon that Marianne Williamson is focused on the best-selling self-help author's unconventional platform of love and spirituality and a friendship with Oprah. She also has a plan to institute a universal basic income. It seems pretty much what we come to know, except for this is an age cap. So part of Williamson's economic plan is to pay all American citizens age 18 to 65 or until they're eligible for Social Security. So it's not going to stack on Social Security, but you just get Social Security. The age at which people get Social Security benefits depends on your birth. This will provide immediate cash relief to those who need it. It will also give people a small but reliable stream of income. It will create a floor so no American needs to be hungry. It will also provide a big stimulus to the economy as people spend the money on foods, clothes, and essentials. I'm sure if you guys are fans of our show and you're fans of Andrew Yang, you know all the arguments for UBI. And that basically is where Marianne Williamson is. So, Cardin, what do you think about that?
That she's embracing UBI?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's so interesting that she's done it in a way that doesn't make her look like a copycat or a Me Tooer or I want to be included, you know. And I think it actually just shows a good cooperative spirit of like, yeah, that guy has a good idea over there. For so many politicians think that the second you say somebody else has a good idea, you're somehow disqualifying yourself in your position, when I don't think you are. Andrew Yang put out in that tweet, for example, that, hey, I don't think I'm the only guy with the best ideas. I'm willing to hear other people's good ideas as well. And if the data shows that we can move in that direction, I will adopt that idea. I want to surround myself with wise people. And it seems like Marianne Williamson's personality I like more and more as I meet it. Stay away from the anti-Trump stuff, keep it positive, and show me what you're good at, and I will get closer to you. And something Marianne Williamson is good at is presenting a spiritual argument, you know, in the context of not metaphysicality, but like, you know, in a spiritual context. And I think there is actually goodness in a leader or a potential leader or just a celebrity, which is pretty much what she is, in saying, hey, this person's got a good idea over there. I support it. So Mark Garnett actually asked, does she qualify for the next debate? And honestly, I don't know. I don't think she does.
She recently hit the donor threshold, but no, she did not qualify yet.
Because of the polls, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a poll qualification.
Hey,
she's in the same boat as Tulsi.
You know who isn't in the same boat as her? Well, sort of is. You know who's doing better than her when it comes to the polls? Our pal Tom Steyer is only one poll away from. And one thing I think is interesting. I think correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Julian Castro was the 10th person to make it to the debate, right?
Yeah.
Well, get this. I believe they said the organization hosting the debate. I blanked. Sorry. That whoever, if there's more than 10 people, then they'll have 2 nights of debates, right? So smaller stages. Realistically, if there's going to be an 11th person, it's going to be Tom Steyer. So we have to ask ourselves, people in the chat, tell me. Honestly, I'm curious. Chat. So, would you rather Steyer is in, but the debates are broken up to 2 nights with about 5 to 6 people, or Steyer's out and it's one 10-person debate night? What do you think, Card? What would you rather happen? Steyer in 2 nights, less people on stage, or 1 night, everyone on stage, no Steyer?
You just that actually happened to the Republicans. There was not a conundrum, but there was a little bit of a debacle in 2016 and a controversy about Rand Paul's status. And he was the 11th guy on stage. They actually made an 11th podium for what was supposed to be a 10-person debate. And do you remember Donald Trump said, I don't even know why we're here because, for example, Rand Paul is not even supposed to be here. He doesn't qualify. You know what I'm saying? And Rand Paul was getting dogged by Donald Trump from the outset because supposedly he didn't qualify yet. He was taking up an 11th spot on stage. So the idea of an 11th spot with Tom Steyer, you know what? I just got to tell you, I think no matter where it would be, if it was 6 on 5, I would see him just ruining no matter where I would want a 10-person debate with just him alone ragging on Trump for the 3 hours in the most narcissistic way possible, because he's a narcissist. The guy's just a narcissist, and he wants attention, and he's angry at Trump, and he's like a football coach that's just wants to win the championship, and he doesn't care what he has to do in order to do it. He'll have his kids on his team take creatine as 16-year-olds and steroids if they have to. So, what'd you say?
Creatine's not like dangerous for your health, like steroids can be.
Yeah, steroids. I just think, honestly, he's going to ruin any debate he participates in. So my heart just cries that he's getting... and actually, I want to know from all of our fans here.
Hold on. It seems that Chad agrees. They would rather have 2 nights if that means Steyer has to be in. They'd rather have 2. So,
well, also, does anybody actually hear... Like, I know, obviously, most people got attracted to Problem Solver Politics because of Andrew Yang. And obviously, that's going to be 99.9% of the people's first pick. But just like, you have seconds that you like, such as maybe Tulsi Gabbard or Marianne Williamson, is there anybody in our thousands of subscribers and people in the chat right now where Tom Steyer is really your pick? By the way, if he is, please enlighten me as to why I'm wrong. I'm not here to troll you. I really want to learn from you. But is there anybody amongst all of our subscribers and our fans who actually really likes and or supports or even marginally is okay with the candidacy of Tom Steyer? Please tell me yes, and just let me know why. Okay, just let me know why you think Tom Steyer's is good. I'm going to give this a solid 3 seconds, Cody, to see if anybody says what. I see crickets.
A solid 3 seconds. Like
somebody wrote crickets. Oh, that is hilarious.
Now, I like judo. Creatine, Lamau. Yeah, the creatine's not like dangerous. It's just.
Well, yeah, you know what I meant. I meant to say steroids, and I said creatine.
Yeah,
I would never dog my supplements in the morning.
That's what's funny. Steyer. Yeah, no one likes Steyer, man. No one likes Steyer. Here we go. Now it comes. Steyer. Hell no. I don't like Steyer either. So.
Joe Andrews, he's my 24th pick.
Long crowd card.
I want Yang/Williams/Gabbard to be co-presidents. That's
like
industry.
A council?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick a fight on lobotomy. That'd be great if like a candidate ran on like pro lobotomy. Like, yeah, we should lobotomize more people.
That's funny. I love what Barry Bryant says. He seems like a rich man playing a trick on me.
Yeah, well, he's playing presidential candidate for sure,
Yeah, so anyway, Josh Ring brings up a good point. I think CNN does 2 nights regardless for extra revenue, and that's totally true. If you've got an advertiser-based, view-based business model, you're gonna have to split it up into 2 nights, and then you're gonna have the fun of everybody speculating. Oh, why did they put these people on this debate stage this night with those people? And
they do it random. Remember?
Oh, please, come on! You don't believe that?
That's crazy. You do this all the time. How do we know they're not going to rig it? Oh, we'll do it random. You can't trust that.
It's CNN. They rig things. In the Podesta emails, they got caught red-handed giving the questions to the kid. There are evidences. This is not a conspiracy theory. If there are evidences that CNN is corrupt.
But it's your position that CNN must be corrupt. Exclusively only. CNN hosted is corrupt by law. Is that what you say?
I would say the chance of it being corrupt is a majority chance.
So maybe, probably they rig it.
I
just got to say, they will rig it. It is rigged, and they will probably rig it aren't the same thing. Those are different things.
Okay, you know what? While you're fanboying for CNN,
I love CNN. I love CNN. Thank you. I just want to make sure I'm on the record how much I love CNN and all their great programming. But my favorite thing about CNN is, my favorite thing about CNN, I know we have the dual box here. When they have like the 9 box and they have a 9-person panel for like a 15-minute segment with 2 commercial breaks and everyone's just yelling over each other in their 9 seconds. Love CNN. I love CNN when they have nonsense shows about nothing all the time. I love them. I don't love CNN. I just don't know if they're evil. I think they might just be kind of misguided and poorly ran.
Semper Mela says 2 nights is good for Yang. Yes, I agree, because it would make it so there's less people on stage. He's going to have a better chance to talk. # let me Yang speak. And then Michael Guzman says something interesting. And Michael, please please elaborate on your opinion here and describe to me why you think this, because we're gonna have to go here soon, but I really want to know what you're thinking. I actually like Yang and Warren as VP. Ooh, that's interesting. So, Michael Guzman, why do you think Elizabeth Warren would be a better VP than Marianne Williamson, Tulsi Gabbard, Julian Castro, even some of the more seasoned and experienced veterans like Klobuchar or Delaney, for example, with all of his intricate knowledge of the medical system, because he was a medical executive for many years. I could see him as being a wildly useful VP. Elizabeth Warren just reminds me of the angry leftist professors that were in the gender studies departments and just hated me because I was male. She just reminds me of that. So I'm really curious what it is that you think she would do better for you or for the American public. This is interesting. I'm really interested in seeing what you have to say. Open my mind. Anyway.
Hey, I didn't know this. Shout outs to Mr. Ted Turner.
Yeah.
Founder of the beloved WCW wrestling television production.
Okay.
And the WCW TV product and inventee, and your favorite CNN. So I just thought we'd give a big round of applause to Mr. Ted Turner.
Oh, I forgot. Ted Turner started CNN.
Yeah.
Like the Roger Ailes of CNN.
And according to one of our commenters, I wish I can find his name. I blanked out on it.
Chat.
According to someone, he's basically a socialist. So.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
I didn't know if you knew he was a socialist or not. I want to make sure you knew. Anyway, yes, please.
I did not know he was a socialist. I confess, I did not know. Okay,
Crazy,
the Real Duck says Yang and Ted Cruz is VP. The Real Duck, I want to know why you think Yang /
the
Cruz
super chat. You see
would be good. And then the super chat. You want to hit the super chat? You want me to hit the super chat?
You got it, man.
Okay. How much public funding has gone into development of the internet, DARPA, and AI from universities? Doesn't that mean that the freedom dividend is truly a dividend in the best capitalist tradition?
Oh, for sure, yeah. That's why I love the notion of it, is the fact that. So we'll get to you again. I'm going to answer really quick, but yeah, no, exactly, dude. I think that is the brilliance of it. I honestly, if I knew I was getting $1,000 a month from the federal government, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna invest in," as a commenter said before, we're gonna invest in better technology for battery recycling, so we could just do it cheaper and faster.
Then I'd actually believe it was an investment and not just a tax raise.
Yeah, well, no, you wouldn't. You say that
use
now.
the word investment
you say
all
that now.
the time.
No, you wouldn't. If it happened,
please.
Even if it happened, you'd be like, these people and there. I'm just saying,
dude. What are you talking about?
I would be more open.
I'm so open-minded. I'm a freaking registered Republican with a show about Yang.
Okay.
I'm the epitome. I am Marianne Williamson open-minded. All right, dog.
Is she open-minded?
She's got orbs. Okay. People with orbs are automatically open-minded. Okay.
Oh, Stefan Lynn, I want to get this, playing the identity card here. Warren is good for VP because she's Native American. She'd be the first Native American vice president, I believe. Correct?
Dude, yeah, the Choctaw Indian tribe is going to be stoked out of their mind when they hear that, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs is going to really feel represented when Elizabeth Warren is in there.
Is she going to sell little foam tomahawks and play it up? Like, geez, you know? Can you imagine it? I could imagine some politician doing something that tone-deaf and ridiculous, you know?
That's
like little headbands they wore in 2020 on them or something. Come on.
So Daniel over at American Jobs Factory brings up a point. Andrew meeting with Elon today or tomorrow. Man, I got to tell you, I would love to be a fly on that wall. I would love to be a fly on that wall. Daniel, is there any way that is going to be recorded, boosted, shown off, not just neutered and put through a press release? I mean, that's going to be kind of a meeting of the minds right there. You know what I'm saying?
I'm assuming it'd be behind closed doors. Have they met before? I think they have, right? I don't think this would be the first time meeting.
Oh, no, he's mentioned before that I'm pretty sure he's mentioned before that he's met with him multiple times.
Yeah, no live stream. I'd imagine behind closed doors. I think this. I'm assuming this would be their first in-person meeting since he officially endorsed them. So cool.
Yeah. So Michael Guzman says, like Warren, because she would be president of the Senate, which she has a lot of experience, and her track record on consumer protection. Okay, I mean, she got famous because basically she was a go-to mini Bernie Sanders in the financial crash in terms of bankruptcy protections. So during the Obama administration, she got very popular and appointed. She was actually appointed to certain positions before she ran for Senate. So the first time she was on the White House lawn was actually in a press conference with, I think it might have even been a president's, I think it might have been for Bill Clinton. Oh, I don't remember. Don't quote me on this, but the first time she was invited to the White House was actually not as an elected official. It was as an appointed position, and she was, I believe, a professor. She's like a feminist icon dream because, she was bucking up against systems that wouldn't let women in and kind of got her street cred that way, right? But she fell in with a large amount of expertise in bankruptcy law. So she was appointed to help, I believe, influence legislation on bankruptcy law, and developed her political reputation that way long before she actually ran for Senate in, not New Hampshire, Massachusetts. So anyway, that's interesting. So you think her Senate experience and her bankruptcy knowledge, okay. I put that on a scale and I think, yeah, okay, that's good. And then on the other side of the scale, I just put on the crazy. Boom. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if it exactly balances out, but that's a good answer. I appreciate your answer. That's a full-throated explanation. I can get that. And he says, further, if you notice, Yang and Warren know how valuable we are as consumers. I think Yang has a more positive view of humans, whereas Warren seems to have a negative view of capitalism and of Republicans and of the wealthy. I view their attitudes as totally different. I think Andrew Yang has much more of a positive attitude, and I think that's important as a president. I think it's important. So anyway, Fred the Felon asks, would you rather have more topics or more time per topic because there will be 5 people on stage? Obviously, more time per topic, because just like Bernie Sanders said on the Joe Rogan podcast, it's just become a reality show. Wait, that sounds strangely familiar to what they said on CNN and what Pete Buttigieg said about it. But that sounds strangely familiar to, oh yeah, Andrew Yang saying that the debates were nothing more than a reality show.
Yeah, no one gives them credit for that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why hasn't anyone said, oh, I appreciate it? Well, media has, but none of the people that say this nonsense say, oh, I appreciated it when Andrew Yang's also running. He brought this up. It was a good point.
Art Science Wonder puts it interestingly, says, Warren is zero-sum capitalism. I actually agree with that. There are some people that approach capitalism not understanding that the pie can get bigger. That if we all do well, if you have a 10% slice of the pie, but the pie gets bigger, you still have more pie. But there's other people that just have this zero-sum idea of capitalism and the economy, that unless my slice of the pie grows to 11%, I'm not improving. Well, guess what? If you shrink the pie and you take an 11-cent slice, you still have less than the pie with a 10% slice. Then the bigger pie with a 10% slice. The size of the pie, aka the size of the economy, matters. Whew. Okay. So we're going to have to wrap it up here in 2 minutes. If you guys got any more questions, please hit it up right now. We got 90 seconds in us left before we got to go here. These goons keep ripping off Andrew Yang. Yes, I think there's a lot of ripping off going on, and I see it. And I also, by the way, just like everybody ripped off Bernie Sanders in 2016 with Medicare for All, which is a bad idea. I think everybody, and it became part of the party platform within less than 7 years. Okay. It was 2013 when he first uttered the phrases officially Medicare for All. And then by 2018, 5 years later, it's in the party platform. I hope that UBI, especially on the Republican side, I really hope the Republicans run with this concept of UBI. In fact, I was talking with an elected Republican official today here in the state of California, and I asked something interesting. I said, is there anything California could do similar to Alaska? Is there something we could do that provided us with a dividend? If we build a stadium, could we make it a public-private partnership that also gave 10% as a dividend? If we build a toll road, is there anything that we can make that is that can end up giving us a dividend? And he said that's an interesting question. Didn't have an answer right then, but I'm probably going to follow up with him and ask. We do a lot of research on the show for you guys. Like, honestly, I'd say for every minute that you see of televised, not televised, but of maybe not live stream, but definitely VOD footage, we've put in easily an hour of research. And Semper Malice asks again a really interesting question. Daily Wire cast comments. Oh, Daily Wire cast comments. I think that was the last question. They'd mentioned early the Daily Wire cast comments. Could you send us a link in the Discord channel?
Or on Twitter, would be easier.
Or on Twitter. And if we can't get to you right now because
is.
we're about to end, then we'll definitely get back to you or possibly talk about it on the next live stream as well.
If it's what I think it is, I think that we're going to do a video on the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and their kind of how they treat Yang. So that's what you're talking about? We're going to do a video on this.
Oh, are you talking about the cast of the Daily Wire's comments on Andrew Yang? Or are you talking about the Daily Wire cast?
I'm reading it.
Because there's a podcast called the Daily Wire cast, I believe.
Oh, it could be. I don't know then.
So I think he's probably referring to the Daily Wire's cast comments. I misread that wrong. I'm sorry. Serpent77 says, did you see the Nerds for Yang interview with Scott Santon today? Yes, I did. It was very interesting. Big fan of Scott Santon's. I had actually quoted him in the first medium.com article I wrote. Back to the Daily Wire cast comments, because I want to respond to Semper Malus here. We have talked about this a lot, but it is interesting and it's intriguing to me that Andrew Yang has a lot of advocates for him on the right. One of them that actually likes him is Ben Shapiro. Now, Ben Shapiro on the Joe Rogan podcast did say that he kind of thought he downplayed automation as being a 10-year problem, but like a 20 or 30-year problem. And he also downplayed some of the effects and didn't necessarily think UBI was a way of going about it, but he didn't necessarily dislike it either. And he said many times that like, oh, I like Andrew Yang. And if you look at Ben Shapiro's tweets, like just Google Ben Shapiro tweets Andrew Yang, and you'll see many positive references to Andrew Yang from a Mr. Ben Shapiro, who is the founder of the Daily Wire. Okay. And that have actually become their own memes now. And they're freaking hilarious. Like there was one with Ben Shapiro and the pink hat on, with his tweet that says, okay, this is epic, that was previously retweeting an Andrew Yang tweet, but now just talking about receiving the bag. And he was holding this big bag with $1,000 in it that said secure the bag on it. And it was pretty hilarious.
No, he said, okay, this is $1,000.
Yeah, okay, this is $1,000. So obviously they also had that big Daily Wire special that they put a lot of money into, talking about his book and everything. Yep, here's the tweet right here. You can see it for yourself.
That tweet's an old tweet of him just saying, okay, this is epic. I forgot what in reference to, but it's kind of a meme. Everyone always rags on him.
But there's,
so
there's good vibes between the two.
Oh, no, yeah, but I'm saying that's the background of the tweet.
Well, I would say that there's better vibes from some of the biggest talking heads on the conservative side right now than there is even from his own party on the left. Because, like, for example, if Andrew Yang says, yo, I want to go on Tucker Carlson tomorrow, he would get on Tucker Carlson and they would have an in-depth conversation. I mean, Tucker Carlson sat there, jaw on the floor, saying, I agree with like 99% of what you said. Ben Shapiro sits down with him for 90 minutes for one of his Sunday specials. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, holy crap, I agree with a ton of what you say. They disagreed on certain points, and they're very good, valid points, and both those people are geniuses, so I want to listen to them both. But I don't think he would have that reception on MSNBC. On CNN, they're saying, oh, whoa, my screen just shut off because Andrew Yang was on it, and NBC's shutting off his microphone, and CNN's taking down his most popular YouTube videos. Meanwhile, only giving 2 minutes and 39 seconds of talk time, and that talk time is questions about Asian foreign policy from the only Asian guy on stage. That's not the treatment he's getting from, people on the right, shall we say.
Okay.
So anyway, we got to end it here, guys.
Well, I got an idea. Before we wrap, I want to bring in a new a segment, perhaps. But this, I think, is a fun way to wrap the show. We can hang out and talk, but you ready?
Yeah, what?
Tell me what you think about this. I have pulled up right here. Oh, I guess you guys have been watching me do this for a while now. This is a list of billionaires according to Forbes.
Okay.
So we're going to pick a billionaire, learn about him, and we'll just wrap up talking about billionaires with you guys. So,
hey, before you talk about the billionaires, we had one really good question from Rambo. Do you think podcasters will get white I think he meant White House press passes, not get white press passes, but get White House press passes with Yang in office. There's been a lot of talk, actually, with the Trump administration, believe it or not. And I give what's her name? Mike Huckabee's daughter. Sarah Sanders? Not Sarah Sanders. What's her name? What's the press
You're
secretary?
so close. You got all the names there. You have all the names. You just got to organize them better.
What is it? Just tell me.
Organize them better, man.
Sarah Sanders?
There's the other one. Whose daughter is it?
Huckabee. Sarah Huckabee? No, come on, bail me out. I'm totally brain farting, dude.
You said it. You're right there.
I'm brain farting. Just bail me out.
You're right there.
Just bail me out.
It's Sarah Huckabee.
Sanders.
There we go.
There we are. Okay, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. See, I knew it. It was. I was sorry. It's getting late, bro. Anyway, they spoke a lot actually on a forum that I saw that ended up getting broadcast on YouTube about diversifying the way White House press conferences go. Like the president could come in twice a week, and they said, why is it only the White House press corps gets all this access to the president? Why don't we have like a day of the week where it's vloggers and bloggers and YouTubers and all the new media people that come in, because they're really influential as well. So yeah, that's a really good question. And you want to wrap it up talking about billionaires?
Well,
okay.
I don't know much about every billionaire. I know about some. So we're gonna pick a billionaire.
I know the richest guy in the world is in Mexico, and he runs the cell phone company in Mexico.
Well, today, let's learn more about David Shaw.
David Shaw, okay.
Worth $7 billion. Wow, man.
Jeez.
David Shaw. Shout outs David Shaw. You can send me one of them. I just want one of your billions, man. Sorry, guys. I got to reformat this. Oh, it's a disaster. So here we go. A former computer science professor at Columbia University, David Shaw is the founder of D.E. Shaw, which manages over $50 billion in assets. Known for its use of sophisticated mathematical modeling and algorithms, the quantitative hedge fund firm was founded in 1988. Oh, there we go. AI, algorithms, all that stuff. In 2002, Shaw created an executive committee to oversee the company and has since stepped away from his day-to-day operations. Good for him, man. It was $7 billion. Several former execs have started their own enormous businesses, including, so Jeff Bezos is a former executive, I believe, of his company, D.E. Shaw. Wow. He's now chief scientist at D.E. Shaw Research, a computational biochemistry research firm. Sorry about that, folks. So, as we're wrapping up tonight, shout out to Mr. David Shaw. Anything to say about that, Carden?
Yeah. Shout out to the billionaire who doesn't need shout outs because he got more money than all the rest of us combined in the chat.
Still good for him, right? David Shaw.
All right, guys. So we're going to end it right there. It has been an absolute blast being with you here. If you want to support the channel.
68 years old, married.
Okay, I'm done talking about the billionaire.
Bachelor of Arts and Science from USC. Hey, University of California, San Diego.
This is the way
out.
you feel when I'm just like, I just don't care. I just don't care. So anyway,
right to know.
If you guys want to contribute to the channel, make sure you check out the PayPal link below. If you want to see more about Andrew Yang and his policies, make sure you check out our playlist on Andrew Yang's policies. We also are going to have some really, really cool videos. So make sure if you haven't smashed that bell and gotten the bell to have all of the notifications, you have that bell on this week, because 5 of these next upcoming videos are some really, really cool going on. So make sure if you haven't liked, you liked. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't shared, make sure you share this to spread the love and help us with the YouTube algorithms. This is Problem Solver Politics. Fade to black.